14 days. In my days of guiding, I have seen lions that have gone for 2 weeks. They don't look very well. They look very skinny, scrawny, not very good looking. Yes, I hope I have answered your question. Yes, look at that magnificent face. This is a fully grown, beautiful male lion. Look at the face.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to and beyond PHEIFFER Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this morning we've got Craig, and we came out into the plains this morning to the same area we were yesterday afternoon in search of that female cheetah, but we've managed to find two tiny little lion cubs that are about to cross behind us with their mother. I'm going to have to move us just so we can try and get a view of them before they cross the road. Just bear with me as we turn around. They're about to walk into the road, everybody. This is so exciting. Here they come. Look at them playing there. How cute is that? They're tripping over their own feet, shame. Listen to their little contact calls to their mother. And then mom also contact calling to them, saying, "Come along, little ones." Look how inquisitive they are. That little one's just spotted something. Oh, there's a bird. There's some birds up on the top there. It's stalking them. That little African pipit doesn't know it's about the sibling is not in on the stalk. Mom walking up the hill. Now there is a second lioness here too, everyone, and looking at both of their bellies, they both look pretty empty. Chris, you're saying what a way to start the morning? Absolutely, Chris, sounds like you guys had a fantastic view of that male lion over in Amara, and now these tiny little lion cubs, and the sun's not even up fully yet. But a very exciting day ahead of us. So like I said, both of these lionesses look like they've got pretty empty bellies. I wonder if they're not maybe going to start looking for something to eat this morning. Probably going to try and find a nice sheltered place to leave the cubs, and then they'll go off hunting. They're very close to a waterhole. Oh, she's gonna pick the cub up. Oh, I thought she was opening her mouth over the back of its neck as if she was going to pick it up. But where they are here in this part of this region of the reserve, there's not very much water at this time of year, and they're very close to one of the only water sources. And they'll know that if they just wait around here for long enough, there'll be zebras and warthogs and impalas and wildebeests that'll come down to drink, and that will then give them the opportunity to try and hunt. Still contact calling. Oh, look at the cubs. So full of energy. Myself and Craig are gonna reposition, and when you come back to us, we'll have hopefully another lovely view of these little ones for you.
Look at this. It's Corky with her little one. Oh, it's so nice to see it walking. So we're actually driving into not even the road that leads to the den, but the road that leads through to Treehouse Dam. And Corky was suckling her little cub in the middle of the road, not far from the den. But interesting that she has moved a substantial amount away from the den considering the size of the cub. Alright, let's move a little bit forward. She is sat down again just around this bin. I'm so surprised it's here because normally we drive this road and then we turn eastward. Alright, let's just do this. I don't want to get too close. Where's your little one? Ah, there it is. Linda, you wanted to know how old Corky's cub is now? It must be about 2 months or so, possibly a little more. Anyway, we're going to try and maybe reposition a little bit to get us a front view or side view. Hopefully we'll get that.
Welcome back, guys. To be nice, wanted to see Corky and her puppies or cubs. Yeah, our lion seems to have had his fill for the moment. He's walked about 10 meters, 30 feet, and he's cleaning up a little bit of table manners, you know, to look a little bit clean. Well, when he walked, I could tell that he hadn't eaten well for quite a while, and this time of the migration, you know, provides a very good time to make a comeback, because there is plenty to eat, and so he can gorge himself to the full, accumulate fat, so later on, you know, when the wildebeest are gone, which is in another 2 months, he's able to go for longer without eating, and also every little meal that he gets will be able to sustain him. Yeah, of course, if he leaves, the vultures are going to make advantage of the carcass. Already I can see some starting to come from a distance. Yeah, I don't know what he's up to, but it looks like he's cleaning up himself. Of course, you know, he's very part of the migration, trying to get rid of those that are weak. And while I'm here, let's learn more about what happens during the migration.
The southern plains of the Serengeti, over 1 million grazers move northwest through the western corridor, gathering along the banks of the Grumeti River. Once the chaos of the rut comes to an end, the herds gallop north once again. In time, more than 2 million animals amount to feast on the abundance the Mara has to offer. But the reward of the red oat grass does not come easy. The zebra vanguard is the first on the banks, taking the plunge into the treacherous Mara River in order to reach the untouched long grass plains on the other side. Not only must they face the turbulent waters, but also the crocodiles, gliding through the rapids in anticipation. Then comes the body of the migration, the thundering herds of the white-bearded wildebeest, with their bleats echoing through the landscape while in search for greener pastures. Hunger. So too are the lions of the Mara, who patrol the banks of the river. The risks are known, but the herds are determined. All must make the leap. Some will fall, but for the survivors, the lush greenery that awaits is bountiful. And then, as is nature's way, it comes the time to cross the river again as they continue to follow the life-giving storms and nourishing plains.
I'm sure that these lions could use a wildebeest or a zebra, and that's definitely one of the animals that they're waiting here or waiting here for, hoping that they come down to drink at these little pools of water. That beautiful lioness scanning out over the grassland, looking onto the far hillside, looking for any sign of potential prey that might be coming down towards this area. You'll see the second lioness about to come into shot. Michelle, who's 11 years old, you're asking if the lioness doesn't hurt the cub when she tries to pick it up. And you're obviously making reference to where she bent down and used her mouth to grab it by the back of the neck. Michelle, this lioness, even though she's got very big teeth and very powerful jaws, when she deals with her cubs with them to carry them, she'll be very, very gentle. And I don't know if you've got a dog or a cat at home, if you feel on the back of its neck, it's got like a scruff, like a big, almost like a handle, like some very loose skin. And so the lioness will pick her little one up around that area so that it doesn't hurt the little one. Very good question, Michelle. But these little cubs, just so active now in the cool of morning, stalking each other, stalking their mother. Oh, and look at the lioness on the right, right? She's also she's just come out into the open. And just now, I thought that she might have spotted something. She was looking very intently also onto that far hillside where the mother was. And now they're both heading in that direction. So I wonder if they haven't spotted something from all the way back here. And maybe they're heading in that direction. Oh, bit of rough housing going on there between mom and her cubs. Look at that. Still lots of contact calling going on. The mother producing that very soft, I don't even know if you guys can hear it, like a soft sound. Just encouraging her cubs to keep following her. And Kirsty and FC saying you guys can hear lots of birds calling. With the sun coming up, there's lots of quail finches calling off to our right. And then the sound of a crowned lapwing. That lapwing, no doubt, alarm calling at these lions. Hopefully he doesn't give them away, well, for their sake. And I think with these lions continuing to move, myself and Craig are going to try and keep up with them, and we'll see what happens.
Good morning from a very chilly Pridelands eco training, and well, we thought we'd start off with something a little bit different in the form of an African hawk eagle, but we'll have another look at that in just a moment. My name is TAYLA MCCURDY, and on camera with me today is Sebastian Rombi. We're very excited because the lions have been roaring all night long, and I've also picked up on some male lion tracks. But let's have another look at this bird. Oh, there's two of them now, Sebastian. And these are two birds that I haven't seen. Sorry. Apologies about that. I think my mic pack has just fallen down, but there, it should be a little bit better now. But these African hawk eagles are no strangers to this area that we're in, and I think I know where their nest is too. So it's nice to see that the other one has come to join, and they're slowly moving their way up the branches to the top of the tree, and you can see the sun has just risen, and now they can warm their bodies up. Ah, perfect. So these birds typically will bond for life if they can, and so that's why we always see them together. And even when they go out hunting, they're never far from one another because they'll share whatever they're looking for. And I imagine from up to the tops of the trees, as they fluff themselves up and also keep warm, they'll be looking for any of the ground-dwelling birds that normally wake us up, so like spur fowls and franklins. They are specialists at catching them, or even some guinea fowl. They also make a lot of noise. But not just yet. I'm so glad that you're all enjoying these birds. I actually haven't had an opportunity to spend much time with birds. There's a woodpecker that you can hear in the distance. But the bird on the left is very interested, or for a moment was very curious, and it had flown up from a lower branch. So I think they might be on the hungry side. See, where one goes, the other follows. They're not too far behind from one another. Perhaps they will go and search another area. But if you come and look between Leopard Road and Marula Lane, you're bound to find the African hawk eagles.
Jumbo, and welcome to Kenya, and we are in the Masai Mara, and we got a pride of lions here that is having some breakfast. Look at that, and they're feeding on a wildebeest. There are 5 in total. We got 3 right now, and 2 just moved behind a particular bush. And I think this hunt was done maybe, I would say, an hour ago, early in the morning. That one's just having a wee, just marking territory. Look at the beautiful sighting of the Masai Mara. It's an open area, what we can call the Mara Savannah. And how beautiful is this? It's time for the migration currently in the Mara. Mark, a very good question. How often does the migration take place? I'll tell you, Mark, the migration, Mark, happens all around the year. It does not stop. It's like a continuous cycle annually. And what happens, it will only, I would say, Mark, it pauses in the month of February in a country called Tanzania, in a national park called Serengeti, in a conservation area called Ngorongoro, and it'll pause for about a month, because that time is the time for the females to give birth. And Jambo everyone, my name is David, and with me on camera is Bungei. Now that's exactly happens around about the migration, and most, if not all, the wildebeest currently are in the Masai Mara of Kenya. So we've got one that is still feeding, and to me it looks like a young boy. If you look carefully, you can see it got some mane on the neck. More often than not, we got the female doing the hunt, but sometimes we also have the boys doing the hunt. To me, they look like 2 youngsters there, and like 2 young males. So one raised up. Look at the tummy on that one, and definitely is a boy in very good shape. When they eat, they get full, and to warms up, they'll always try and get some place to shade, or they might go for a drink. And how beautiful is this? Remember, should you have any questions or comments, please send them through. Jamie, I love your comment, and you're saying, yes, breakfast is being served in the Mara. And having said that, somehow my sugar levels are a bit low, Jamie, and I'm tempted to am I getting some good appetite to eat? Great comment there, Jamie. And remember, again, should you have any comments or questions, please send them through hashtag World Earth, that's on tweet, or you can also use hashtag CGTN World. It's like it's Christmas season here, or it's like party time here for all the lions and most of other predators in the Masai Mara, because we got thousands and thousands of these wildebeest around. This time it will be party after party. You might see them bringing down, say, even 2 or 3 wildebeest at the same time. Not because they're hungry. Sometimes they just do it for fun. If an opportunity, presents itself, you'll get the lions, regardless of being full, just giving a quick chase and bringing one down. Let's see if we can hear this particular lion breaking the bones. How nice. See how red it is. And this tells you that this kill is very fresh. I would say it's barely 1 hour since it was brought down. So what I want to do is just to go around and find out if we got more of these cats around, or if maybe the others that walked away, they could be planning to kill. Who knows?
Look at this. The little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Now, the first time that we saw Corky at the den, and we saw this cub, was the first week in July. So a month and a half of seeing the cub. And when we first saw it, it would have been about 10 days old. So, oh, look at this. How special is this? Oh, yeah, we were just saying, can you imagine this little thing moving from all the way from the den to here? And now we know Corky has been picking it up. Look at how the body goes limp when the mother holds it in its mouth like that. That's for the safety of all involved. It's a very natural position that the cub takes. That is stunning. Well done, BK. Alright, I think we can move it along. That was special, wasn't it? That was so special. Alright, let's do a very simple, quick true or false quiz about hyenas. Make sure we've all learned what we're meant to learn about hyenas during our time together. True or false? Hyenas are more closely related to cats than dogs. I should say true or false after that. And you can tell me your answers using the hashtag WildEarth or the hashtag CGTNWild. I would love to know your answers, and then we can have a really good discussion about why the answer is as it is. Now, it looked like she was moving directly to the den. Just want to make sure that I don't startle her if she's still walking along. Nope, I can see at the den. Alright, I'm going to reposition. Hopefully the other cubs will be out too.
How interesting, Trishala. It seems as though you've got a lot of safari luck, which is awesome, but so do we. Now, we followed the male lion tracks and it led us to Leopard Dam, but we haven't found a lion. We've now got a big herd of buffalo, which we managed to see yesterday afternoon, but the sun had already set. But I thought that they might have come this way for an early morning drink, because that's what the buffalo like to do once they've woken up. But it's quite funny, a couple of them seem to be very excited this morning and are jumping around and just have a bit of a spring in their step. Maybe they're happy that the lions are on a kill elsewhere and they're not tailing behind them. But I don't think they know that there is one male lion lurking around here somewhere, because his tracks were nice and fresh. But they've unfortunately already had their drink and are now moving off to go and find some nice grazing areas. So what we will do is we will try and go around and catch up with the whole herd. So now it's just the big bulls that are sort of lagging behind. They're not finished just yet. They're basking in that glorious glow. And there's even an oxpecker, which is that bird that's dangling just on the side of it. You can also hear them as they fly over us. That sort of drilling sound that you can hear. Critter freak, yes. These boys at the back are definitely old warriors. You can see they're struggling. They even seem to be a little bit stiff, but they've probably been lying down all night, and I know what it's like if I sit cross-legged or hunched down on my haunches for too long. You know, I've got to sort of shake my legs out to get the blood flowing again. We actually see that with a lot of different animals. But as the buffalo move away from the water, I think it's time that we loop around to get a view of the front end.
Well, apart from the buffaloes that Taylor got, I would say currently the number one food for the lions are the wildebeest, as I just said earlier. And look at that young boy, and look at the strength on his neck. And what he's doing, he's dragging away a baby, I would say a baby wildebeest. For those of you who could be a bit squeamish, I might warn you, it might look a little bit sad, but this is exactly how things play out here in the African bush. And this is the second kill. It's not what the one we were seeing before. This is definitely a separate kill altogether. And what this youngster is doing is dragging this particular young calf, and he is going to stash it somewhere just to keep it fresh and keep it cool, to make sure that, you know, he can keep eating it for the better part of the day. Oh, look at that. Definitely a very young calf, not a fully grown wildebeest. I'm going to try and move a little forward. Let me just... Oops. He just ran. I don't know what happened there. Wow, how cool is this? Let's hold on a little bit. Now, most of the wildebeest currently, ladies and gentlemen, are in the Masai Mara, and as I said, they usually go around Masai Mara in Kenya and Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. But the Masai Mara is a very big game reserve, about 1,500 square kilometers, and I would say 3/4 of those wildebeest now are in the western side of the Masai Mara game reserve. We got thousands and thousands of those beasts, which we shall be showing you shortly, after we find out where this particular youngster wants to go and stash his breakfast. So just hold on for a minute, and I want to get a nice location, and we can see him dragging his kill. It's a young calf, not a very old one. And what most cats or most predators will do, they'll always have a choice of the easiest prey to bring down. And this is exactly what could have happened with this youngster. But I think in the group he is in, he thought, you know, this is mine. I'm going to go hide it somewhere, and it will be mine for the better part of the day. Are you happy there, Bungay? So he's stopped here. Are you happy there? Okay, let's have a quick at him. And it's... Now you're asking, how much can a lion eat in one day? I'll tell you what. In general, a lion will eat 10% of its body weight. Assume, say, a lion is about 200 kilograms, 400 pounds more or less. It could comfortably eat 20 kilos or 45 pounds in, say, one sitting or in a day. So give or take about 10% of its body weight. A young male, out very strong. See how he got very strong neck muscles to be able to drag that kill. Is a young calf, which I would say could be just a few. Let me just move on a little bit. Let me just back up a little bit. So I just want to back up and reposition and find out if we'll see him again and know where exactly he'll be going. So let me just put my head up and see where he is.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinder. This lioness is starting to take her youngsters down into that ravine we spoke about earlier. Listen to her still contact calling, still calling the little ones. There's a lot of kind of eroded gullies here and thick, dense groves of spike thorns and guaris growing on the edge of these ravines. Wonderful places for her to leave those little cubs. It seems like she's just trying to find the right spot to leave them. I don't know where the second lioness has gone. She's just disappeared. I don't know if she's maybe spotted something. Has gone off to investigate. listen carefully in the background also, you might be able to hear some monkeys' alarm calling. They've spotted either her or this lioness, I'm not quite sure. Little cubs, still so playful. Coming right past the front of the vehicle, following their mom's calls. As she leads them off to go and find a nice safe spot for them. Listen to those little calls, those soft little yowls. So busy playing around in that long grass, and the grass is so long you can hardly even see them. They're disappearing down into that little ravine over there behind us. It looks like the mother is missioning through there, no doubt trying to find a spot for them to rest and keep them safe, while she and her sister go off to hunt. I think myself and Craig are going to try one more time to get you one more view of these lions before they disappear. So let's go and try and reposition. When you come back to us, hopefully we'll have another view for you.
She has successfully moved her cub back towards the den, but it is not inside, it is in fact against her belly. Some more milk for the morning. How beautiful that light is, the golden hair of Corky. I'm so glad that she's doing so well. Her cub is quite small, but I'm glad to see that it's getting fed. Helen, you say it's true that hyenas are more closely related to cats than dogs, while Jackie, you say that is false. Hyenas are more closely related to dogs than cats. Is it time for the reveal? Any other answers want to come through? So far it's split 50-50. Melody, you say it's true. And for me, that's a statistically significant result that we have, since we have 3 answers that we chose, and it is in fact true. Hyenas are more closely related to cats than dogs, but they do not fall into the family, the carnivore family Felidae, which is what true cats fall into. They fall into a suborder, Feliformia, which contains basically cats, mongoose, civets, and the similar. They have their own family, Hyenidae, but they are more closely related to cats than to dogs, despite their dog-like appearance. Very, very interesting creatures, and I've had an excellent opportunity to sit with them and learn so much about them, and I'd like to offer that opportunity to you guys too.
The spotted hyena is one of Africa's most versatile carnivores. They are able to make themselves at home in vastly different habitat types. The landscapes of the Western Kruger and Masai Mara have little in common, so the hyena of each area must take up shelter in very different spaces. In the rich black soils of the Mara, the clans den in secret burrows below the long grass. While safe from the predators, the burrows are not very waterproof, causing quite the muddy mess when the rains come. In the Western Kruger, termite mounds rise out of the sandy soil. Once occupied by aardvark or warthog, they are the perfect shelter for vulnerable hyena cubs, hard as concrete and dry for the most part. hyena mothers will move their dens from time to time, often as a result of crowding or unwanted attention from other predators. Subordinate females will feed away from the den, bringing food to their cubs in the form of milk, while dominant mothers and their cubs will monopolize any takeaway meals they can get their paws on. These dens are unique havens of safety and hubs of social activity for one of Africa's most complicated carnivores.
Well, it's always nice to see hyenas because they give the lions a run for their money. They're the one of the only few predators that give lions competition in the African plains. Look what else we found. This is another of the Mogoro males. There are 4 this time. This is the second one, and then I have another 2 who are walking. There is one there, that's the third one, and then we have another one very far away. Let's see what it's gonna do. Usually when they go behind bushes like that, they will spray them with their urine, which leaves pheromone or messages or scents that tell others about their presence. I tend to think the pheromone or the chemicals they leave in all territorial marking tell a lot. It can tell who they are, how intimidating they are, how dangerous they are, and if they are females, if they're coming into season, and even their names. So it is very important. That's how they communicate. It's like leaving a message. Yes, and I will try and get close. Don't go anywhere, please, because it is getting exciting. I don't know where they're going.
Well, good luck, Isaac, and hopefully you're gonna get close to those lions. I left the one youngster male that was dragging that kill to go and stash it somewhere, and I found out we got 4 separate kills in a very small area of less than 1 square kilometer. So the one we saw first, the one we saw being stashed away, and this particular one that you're seeing here. So this is the 3rd kill, and behind us there's another one. And what happens once the lions are done and they have eaten, these are the scavengers that come next. The only thing I'll tell you, most vultures, when they're eating, they don't have very good table manners. And you can see how they keep fighting for the food. Let's see if you can hear any of their noises. Very good, because here it's all about speed. Because the lions that brought down these wildebeest are not very far from here, and should they think, we did all the hard job, why are you enjoying your food, get out of here? So they have to eat very quickly. Now we got 2 different species of vultures here. We have the one, like the one you see jumping there, that's called the Rupert's griffon vulture, and the others are called the African white-backed vultures. But on a closer look, see some of the birds that are black with the very long beaks. These ones are called marabou storks. In general, we call them scavengers. So you can see how the food chain or how the cycle of life works out in the African bush. We got the herbivores, I'm talking about wildebeest, zebras, buffaloes eating the grass. We got the predators or the carnivores. They'll come and hunt the same. After they have eaten, we'll have these scavengers coming to clean the savannah. Otherwise, I'll tell you, of all the animals we got here, the scavengers do a very important job. You'd imagine having all these animals left here rotting and nobody to clean the mess. It could be a very different story. So I'll try and loop around and see whether I can see the other kill and what's happening there.
warm welcome to all our viewers. We are currently here at Ambion Ngala, and we're so lucky that we were able to spot 3 wild dogs. And you can just see the way that this one is staring off to the left. There's a few that came down, but just over them, there's a herd of impala that they're probably looking at hunting this morning. So I'm NIKKI here at Ambion Ngala, and with me on the camera is Gert. So just focusing back on those wild dogs, like I've only seen it now, but if you look above them, look at the impala right there. So I mean, if we spend some time here, we don't know what we could possibly see. And with wild dogs, they are extremely quick, these animals. If they would get up and start running, I'm sure it would take that one that's lying down right in the front there, less than 4 seconds to be from there towards where those impalas are. And we'll just have to sit here quietly and wait, because there's another one that's just looped behind us. And I wonder if it's going to try and chase those impalas towards where these 2 are lying down in the road. You can see they are looking this direction, but the wild dogs are showing a lot of patience at the moment. This is incredible. Like, I've just been on a bit of leave and coming back and seeing this. This is absolutely amazing. And the thing about wild dogs is they are very successful hunters. From all the predators, especially here at Ambion Ngala, they probably have some of the highest success rates when it comes to hunting. So if we do give it some time, spend here and just patiently endure, we might be able to see something unraveling right in front of our eyes. Now, earlier on, some of the rangers were chatting about talking about some of the scavengers. Now, as we were driving, we saw quite a few hyena tracks in the area as well. So there might be even hyenas that are trailing these wild dogs, because they know the wild dogs are such good hunters. So if they do make a kill, eventually they'll go and see if there's any scraps. Especially if there's a lot of wild dogs, they'll keep these hyenas away. But if not, you might even find that the hyenas could possibly chase the wild dogs off for that kill. But you can see how patiently these 2 are just lying down in the road waiting. The one in front is barely moving. You can just see that white tip at the end of the tail as it's chasing away some of those flies. But look at those impalas. They are looking in this direction, but I don't think they have an idea of what's lying down in the road on the side. Oh, look. Looks like there's another wild dog moving in the grass closer to those impala. Oh, that's that hyena. It's hard to see. I just want to quickly use my binoculars to have a look and see what that is. Oh no, that's the other wild dog. So look, it's in between where those ones are and the impala haven't even seen it. Jackie, if they are separated, they might call in order to join up again. But when they initiate a hunt, there might be little squeals before they start, but normally they'll just tend to get up and start running. But look at the little greeting at the moment. Now I wonder if they have made a kill, and because of that they're not too fussed with those impalas in the back. Or are they, because it doesn't look like they're initiating anything for a hunt. It's just like a bit of a hello, I haven't seen you for a little bit, and then from there on probably getting up and starting to move. But when it comes to the hunt, they won't necessarily call. They'll try and be as quiet as possible. They'll just start moving towards the impala, and the next moment they'll start running. Now they have, that one came, met up with the other ones, and it might be that these could be youngsters, and the other one just came to come and grab the youngsters, and now slowly starting to move closer to those impala. But look at this one, still patiently lying down on the road, just waiting. This is really exciting. Also here, those impalas, they're not alarm calling, so I'm not sure if they know these wild dogs are here. Beach bunny, I do agree, they do have quite fluffy tails. And also, I mean, look, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to ask that everyone just holds on. Looks like some of the wild dogs have moved off to the right. So we just want to stay on the road and see if we can still see them. We don't know if they might have chased some of the impalas off towards the right. So we'll just carefully scan as we go, but it looked like some of them were chasing those impalas in this direction. Okay, I'll just keep a good lookout while I maneuver around, see if there's any signs of them. The only thing about wild dogs, often if they do run, I mean they can run for quite a distance before they eventually catch something, but what we'll need to do if we don't see them, we'll just switch off the vehicle and listen out for any noise, because often if there is a carcass, there's a lot of excitement around that carcass. Wild cow, I agree, it was like lightning. I mean, we can't even see these wild dogs at the moment. They were just like bolts of lightning and they were gone. So let's just see. Just want to quickly stop here and just listen. There's a few vultures that just landed up in the tree right ahead of us. And often when there's wild dogs, you might even find that the vultures would be following these wild dogs, just waiting for them to make that kill and scavenge off whatever might be there. Look like two white-backed vultures up in the tree. But I'm going to try and see if I can maneuver in a few other areas and possibly see if we can get a glimpse of these wild dogs.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a sublime morning out here at Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. It is, as always, an absolute pleasure having you with us. It is pretty cold, but gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous weather. This is the first proper cloud cover I've seen in absolutely months out here at Tswalu. Mind you, we actually had that kind of like snowy, drizzly day a couple of weeks ago. That doesn't count. But this cloud is beautiful. It's chilly. There's a little nip in there with this wind. But I think it's going to be a really, really good morning. We're giving the meerkats a skip. The meerkat habituators were looking for them yesterday. They didn't have a huge amount of joy. And also this cold weather, I don't want to go spend a whole lot of time there for minimal stuff. So we're just going to be driving around in a completely different area to where we normally are. And David, by the way, on camera, doing just a fantastic job. For those of you who haven't met him, he loves eating duck. So one of his favourite meals. Yeah, there we go. And my name's Dylan. No, it's just an amazing morning out here. I think let's just go out, explore it, have fun. And don't be shy. Remember, ask us questions if you want to know this view, if anyone that thinks this is spectacular, it's a complete understatement. You've got to be on the ground with us. I mean, David, I don't know if you can scan across, pan across to the right over there. You guys have got to see these landscapes. It is just off the charts spectacular. And one day when you're all big, you can come join me here. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, what you're doing. If you, looking for butterflies or standing on the rim of a volcano somewhere, or sitting in your lounge or lying in your bed, but one day you got to get out here because this place is gorgeous.
Okay guys, welcome back. There was a lion there, you see it walking, it's there, you see the head, it's disappearing. I think it's headed towards that godinia bush. That is elephant grass. A very good camouflage and a very good place for lions to hide. See it there guys, you see walking? Yeah, that is one of the new coalition of the Mogoro males. He is one of the ones with the most, biggest, most beautiful, mane. They had made a kill further somewhere back there. I didn't see it. They walked across the road. One of them has headed here, and he's the one here. There is 2 more that are lying back here, and then the other one that was fighting with the crocodile yesterday. So we have seen all 4 of them very scattered. 2 are together, 2 are separate. It doesn't mean that they don't know where one another is. Using those pheromones I was telling you, those chemicals that they spray onto the grasses, rocks or bushes, they can track one another. Usually when they do that, they will rub their legs onto those, where they've peed. All those chemicals get into their paws, so when they walk, they leave the scent everywhere, and that's how they find each other. There's no roads here, there's no signs, but for them, that is the easiest way to find one another, and right now, when you look at this area here, you might think there is nothing, but for sure, there is lions. Yes, look at that view. This is where one of them came and drank, and this is the kind of place you don't want to go swimming. Very much like yesterday, this is the place we saw a crocodile. This leads down towards the main river, and the crocodile usually find their way up this way, trying to find another source or another pool. Eventually, sometimes staying in a place like this make it very dangerous for anything that comes to swim, to drink, or to cross. While I change my position, let me leave you to find something else somewhere.
Well, good luck, Isaac. And yeah, true as he says, you don't want to take a chance by swimming in the water. We all know crocodiles got very special eyelids that underwater will have the crocodiles opening their eyes, and they can see you coming down, and they can very quickly bring you down. Now, talking of scent marking of the lions, that's exactly how they do communicate, or how they mark their territories, and how they can leave tracks for them to know who was where or which way to follow. You remember the first male lion, or the first 2 male lions we saw eating? This is the same kill they had, and you can see how much is left from what was initially there. Most of the fillet steak is gone. Again, for some of us who could be a bit squeamish. Good question, and you're asking where do these lions drink water? I'll tell you, the Masai Mara Game Reserve is full of water. We got ideally 2 main sources of water. We got so many rivers in the Mara, and the big one is where Isaac is, and that's the Mara River. But also we got so many springs and wells all over. And these cats, these lions are very intelligent. They will know, because I tell you, after having such a heavy breakfast, the next thing they will do is to go and look for some water to help in digestion. And we have some showers. For example, last night we had some good showers, and very easily water will just collect in a puddle, and lions, or most of the animals here out in the African bush, any water they find close to them, they will drink, and luckily nothing major happens to them. Any water that collects. So the other members of this particular coalition left, and he is the one who still needs more for breakfast. And I'm saying he because if you look carefully on the neck, you can see he got some mane, so he's a youngster. Maybe he could be about a year old. And they belong to a particular coalition that we call the Olololo. A year going to a year and a half, and I think they must have been shown the door by the main males in that particular coalition. As they get older, the boys will always, be told to go look for their own territories and establish their own homes, leaving their fathers behind. Hear him cracking the bones. Now, what I want to do, I think we have done very good on the lions this morning, or the last couple of minutes, a lot of eating. I want to go look for the huge hearts of the wildebeest and find out where they are.
Welcome back, guys. No more cuts for the moment. Now we have something special. One more thing. This is Egyptian geese. with her about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 11, gooslings, I would call them. I think that's dad. Look at that. One happy family. Look at the little guys, holding the water, looking for little things to eat. Yeah, it is another rare sight, a beautiful one to come, to see young ones like this. Not all of them make it, so to see them, these men, you normally see 2 or 3, or you see adults, but to see young chicks, young goslings like this, it's really a bonus. Look at them. They are preyed on by young crocodiles, monitor lizards, even birds of prey, jackals, pythons. So infant mortality is very high at this young age. Maybe of those 11, maybe about 2 will make it to adulthood. Okay, looks like daddy doesn't want our attention and he's hiding them behind the bush there. Yeah, usually they have to stay in usually they stay in shallow waters where they can find food, and also there is less predators. Of course, they have done really well to keep them safe up to this age. I would give them a good maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, until they're about 2 months, it's when they're guaranteed to survive. But at this age, they're still very delicate because they can't fly. To get away, they only can swim. So they have to be somewhere where there's water. Yes. Well, I'll leave you to enjoy this beautiful sight. And after this, I'm gonna go and find something else. Please enjoy.
We are just absolutely stunned. And again, this is coming from me that's been here for 16 years or something like that. And just how incredibly beautiful and spectacular this place is. I mean, we're getting like shafts of light. Sorry, David, I'm being a pain. Go back there now. Look at this. This light, as the clouds sort of recede and you get a gap, we'll just keep it on the mountains there. You suddenly get this massive shaft of light pushing down along those slopes and just highlighting that bush at the bottom over there. And it is just absolute poetry in that landscape. It is just, I mean, this is just drop dead gorgeous. So just wait for it, just wait for it, just wait for it. It's got to come out again, please. And if it doesn't, it's still good. And this is the thing, this is about, it's not just about the wildebeest crossing or the pangolin that we find or the meerkats or the shell ducks or the lion on a kill. Yeah. Butterfly says, what a beautiful morning. Thank you, Butterfly. It is completely... Oh, look at this band of light coming through here now. Wait. Oh, my word. This entire plain below us here is just like lighting up here. David, you work your magic, whatever you need to do, because it's just... I'm looking at everything, and it's just so incredible, man. Yowzers. 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 No, this is gorgeous. Yeah. Oh man. And yeah, you all have to get out here. I know I just keep saying that, but I really mean it. I mean, it's just, this is, and there's a beautiful herd of eland here as well. Look at that herd of eland. Oh man, what a morning, man. What a morning. Look how gorgeous they are. Look at that color and how they blend in. And you're going to laugh just because my large mammal identification is so good. When I saw them initially, I actually said, there's some lions. And then I realized, well, hang on. They're marginally larger and slightly different. So these are one of the, and just looking at this landscape that we're in here, this landscape has been inhabited by people for tens of thousands of years, actually more than 6,000 years, just putting it out there. For those of you unsure about the ages of these landscapes. And we've got so much evidence of, like, archaeological evidence out here, stone tools, we've got beautiful engravings, and some of these things have been dated way, 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 way older than that, or literally into the tens of thousands of years. And this animal that we're looking at here, these eland, were absolutely integral with the San culture. The San is also called, also known as the Bushman culture. You can use the terms interchangeably. Bushman used to be kind of almost like a derogatory term, but it's actually gained huge acceptance now, and it is a accepted term for the San people, with no negative connotations whatsoever. But these eland, this antelope that we're seeing here, was absolutely integral, and it features very, very prominent. It's the most commonly depicted species in all of their rock art, be it paintings or petroglyphs. And looking at this weather that we're seeing here, this wider landscape, if you can maybe zoom out there a little bit, please, David. This wider landscape with the clouds in that, eland were actually regarded as one of the rain animals. And these rain animals, even metaphorical sense, they would actually take a rain animal, try catch it on top of, or bring it up onto the top of a hill, often where you get these pools of water forming on top of hills, and then they would actually slaughter the rain animal on top of the hill, and its blood would flow down into the cracks in the rock, and that would actually create further rain. But look at this landscape. I'm absolutely in heaven now. There are very few things that could better this. There's probably one thing that could better it. PD Kid has asked, have I spent much time in the Okavango Delta? I have not been that fortunate, unfortunately, but maybe one day when I'm big. I have been there once, many years ago. But that is still, I will definitely be doing that again at some point. I'll definitely need to make a plan there. This is beautiful, man. This is such a gorgeous landscape, eh? Everything about it.
It is a beautiful, beautiful day. I'm glad that the landscape in Tswalu is also looking stunning. It always does, though. And out here, the wind has died down. It's a lovely, quiet, warm. And still such beautiful colors. This little one is still busy. Occasionally see his little ears popping up. Zoe, you'd like to know how many cubs do hyenas usually have? They can have 1, 2, 3. 3 is exceptional, but it has been recorded, and usually it will be 2 or 1, like our corky here has had. There's that little ears popping up. Like a little Batman. It's so nice to spend some time with them, especially Corky and her cub. Ribbons too will be moving about quite a bit now. In fact, I saw some little cubs or cub tracks. Stasia, you'd like to know if the cubs need to drink water while they're suckling. It is not required for them to drink water while they're suckling, especially not at this very young age. Remember, this cub is only about 1.5 months to 2 months, and its diet will almost be exclusively milk, but it'll start to nibble on bits of meat and leftovers, actually bones and things like that. It'll start to nibble on it. they don't need water just yet. Mammals have this unique and awesome ability to care for their young without much resources at all for the first few fundamental months of their lives. Some mammals that may just be weeks, for some it will be a year or more, which means that all the nutrients that they need come from their mother. The moisture requirement, all of that comes from their mother, and that's really important because it means that the mother is equipped with everything it needs to ensure the survival of their cub for the fundamental parts of their growing up.
Sorry everybody, but our buffalo I've been standing still for the last 20 minutes, and then of course this happens where as we go live, because this is a live safari, they decide that they're going to move too. So I'm just going to do some reversing, and I know you're thinking, Taylor, that's ridiculous. How on earth do you lose like 50 buffalo? But you know, with me anything is possible. But I'm going to show you them in just a minute. If I don't crash. Oh, Seb, I don't know. It's tricky. We're going to have very abstract views of the buffalo today. Thank you very much. Commenting on my reversing skills. You know, I try. If I can't show you animals, then I better be good at something else, hey? I won't ask Seb to rate my reversing, but there we go. You can see the buffalo. They aren't coming out onto the road because there's no grass growing on the road, of course, so they've got their heads down and feeding on this nice tall grass that's just growing in and amongst all these trees. You can see it's quite dense in here, and they've been a bit nervous this morning. The oxpeckers, I think, have been stirring for a change. So those are the birds that are sitting on the backs of the buffalo and climbing around on them. We'll talk about them in a minute. But I don't know if they keep getting a scent of a lion or something, because but those oxpeckers are really good birds to have around for a number of different reasons, but they also act as an alarm system. So if they see a predator, they'll start shouting. Maybe you remember that drilling sound that you heard when we first saw the buffalo, and that will alert them, and then they'll put their heads up and they'll look around and maybe sniff the air. But that's not the only role that the oxpeckers play with the buffalo. They will actually feed on all the parasites, typically the ticks that are living on the hair, or feeding on the blood off of the buffalo, and they'll like to eat that. But now, of course, we can't see any. It's so typical of the wild animals. That's what makes safaris fun, is that you never know if it's going to be a perfect sighting or, you know.
I think there might be some there.
There, you can see a couple of the buffalo. The oxpeckers flying off. Did you see how those thorns didn't even bother that buffalo there? Big acacia tree of sorts, and now off they go. I'm wondering how we're going to get another view, Seb, because these bulls have moved off on the right. I'm so sorry, everybody. It's not the greatest view at the moment, so we just kind of have to make do for now. But there's been lots of little midges and things around. You can see the buffalo flicking their ears and swatting their tails as animals normally do. So it's not only the ticks and parasites that live off of or live on the buffalo, but all the other insects that are, you know, pestering them too. Now, Lemon Lime, I was actually trying to get in front of this herd of buffalo so that I could talk about the social structure and how these animals move. So it's a great question that you've asked, if buffalo just follow a leader or do they just go wherever and whoever's in front kind of leads the way. So the buffalo that we're looking at the moment is a bull, and he's not too old. He doesn't look too old. He looks like he's got nice sharp tips on his the tips of his horns, and his boss could get a bit bigger, so that big sort of helmet-like structure on the front of his head. So it's actually the ladies, it's the female buffalo that lead the herd, and they're called pathfinders. It's not really a great example because this is quite a small herd of buffalo, but perhaps David or Isaac, when they're in the Mara, you can ask them, and if they find those huge herds of buffalo, then you can see it quite nicely. So you'll have a group of very experienced females, almost like matriarchs ox and a herd of elephant that have just got so much information, that has been passed down to them, and they know where the best routes are to get to next grazing areas or where watering holes are and that type of thing are, and they typically lead the herd, and then they'll have their calves with them. But the males are very, very important in a big herd of buffalo like this, because they are the protectors, and they're much bigger and stronger than the females, and as I'm sure that you have seen, buffalo are very social, and they do bond with one another. So if a lion, which is the favorite food, buffalo are the favorite food of lions, does come on and tries to catch one, you'll see that the lions won't try and go for a buffalo up in front. They look for one lagging behind, because if a distress call is let off, well, it could be tickets for that lion, and they'll either get chased away or could even get hurt in the process. But we'll try and have a look and see if there's any little calves, and maybe get a glimpse of some of the pathfinders.
Ruben has just joined. Corky's been whooping. Let's just be quiet. Look at this cub trying to approach Ruben. That's her calling for her cubs. This is great to hear. Come on, Ruben, where's your cubs? Corky is blocking up the den at the moment, though. Okay, Ruben is walking off. Janet, you say that's such an odd sound. Almost sounds like a cow to me. That's what they do when they're calling out their cubs, so they're talking to their cubs. You'll often hear that low rumble. Even to each other, they'll sometimes do it, but I've heard it more often when they're trying to call out their cubs. Sometimes it's used in conjunction with the high-pitched squeals and giggles that you may hear. They have lots of vocalizations, and that's usually what you'll hear when they're greeting each other or they're meeting up, adults. But this low rumble, moo-like sound is definitely one to communicate with the cubs. Oh, that's just two too sweet. We're going to sit here and see what else unfolds.
Here we have got some animals who have decided that the springtime has begun and they need to have an early morning drink, or relatively early morning drink. There are some impala, some zebra, and also, if you look very carefully, there is a water monitor lizard. Now I'm told that there were some alarm calls coming from here a little bit earlier. Trishala managed to hear them. But we haven't found anything other than a few leopard tracks, but no leopard. But this is a really pleasant little scene playing out here. The visitation to the waterhole seems to have filled the animals with a little bit of exuberance. There was also a herd of wildebeest coming down. They seem to have found something tasty to eat on their way. Very peaceful, calming Sunday morning feel about the whole thing. Lovely reflections. Have you seen the monitor lizard, Theo? Can you see the log? It's just on the left end of the log. That's it. There he is. He's having the best morning. He looks like he had a heavy night, and he's now just splayed out dramatically, suffering from some form of hangover. And while you're just enjoying the peaceful scene, let me describe the atmosphere, the smell. There's a smell of fire in the air, and we're into fire season now. There'll be a lot of controlled burns, largely controlled burns, around the place, and so there's a smell of smoke in the air, which is actually quite pleasant because it is a harbinger of the coming spring. And then also, there's the very subtle smell of the knobthorn flowers. And you can see those on all the knobthorn trees. And if you look up, once that impala has stopped drinking, there's a knobthorn tree with beautiful yellow flowers just above it, pale yellow flowers. Oxpeckers are also having a drink. Can you see down here, Theo? Look at the little birds. There's some golden-breasted bunting, yellow-fronted canaries. Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at those colours. Those are two different species there. Grey-headed sparrows. Oh, that's so cool. And that is the most cheerful colour you can imagine out here. Hey? Soft yellow. Now they're all starting to call. Let's see. That you can hear. Perfect little spot to spend a bit of time. And then the last thing I'll show you is a wagtail. I've got a pied wagtail. It's now disappeared, naturally. It's gone behind the log where the lizard is lying. There we go. Well done. A wagtail.
Welcome back to the Mara. Yeah, we back to where the kill was, where the crocodile was, and the sanitary crew has come here. Those are the back benches, the cleaning and drinking water. But if we go back to the left of us, it has become a vulture's restaurant. Mind you, in this restaurant there is no table manners. There is pecking and fighting and throwing and kicking. Usually there is no pecking order. If you can, get hold of a meal, then you eat. But if you're bigger than others, you can intimidate and take over the table, just like that guy in the middle. He's called the lappet-faced vulture. He's the African largest vulture, capable of opening skins and tearing skins of dead animals. Very intimidating, and that's why he's in the middle, feeding on the carcass. Look at how he's tearing those meats, those tendons. Remember, most of the meat was gone by, being eaten by lions. The one to the left, he's been kicked out by the Rukel's griffon. It's one of the second largest. Look at those wings. Yeah, just imagine being in a table with your arms open and your head inside the pot, trying to take as much as possible. The marabou stocks usually stay behind, waiting for those big chunks that nobody can swallow, for them to swallow. These guys play a very big role in cleaning up the plains, just like I explained a few days ago, because a carcass like this could cause disease and also smell. So they come and actually eat the meat, rip off the tendons, so the animal disintegrates and disappears quite quickly. It's the cycle of life. After this, what is left is for the weather, the sun, the rain weathering. It will separate, burn the bones, and over the years some of them will disappear. It takes longer for the vertebrae, the skulls, the horns to disintegrate, so those are the ones that are going to remain. Here comes, we call him the Undertaker from the back. He is the marabou stock. I don't know if he's gonna come in. They're taking their time. I don't know if they're gonna come in. Look at that. There is not much left. Dina, you say you love the sounds of the vultures on a kill. Yes, I don't know how to put that, but it's actually interesting that you say that, because they're usually angry and aggressive towards each other. Yeah, it's interesting that you like how they sound, but it's rather interesting because it's very different. It's trying to change. Look at just sounding that, and everybody's looking. I'm not a vulture. Continue eating. Yeah, look at their heads. It's full of blood. This is the reason why they never grow hairs on their heads, because they're always probing and putting their heads inside carcasses, stopping the feathers from their heads to grow. And actually it's important, because I think they'll be very wet, they'll be ugly with hairs on their heads or on their manes. I thought hyenas were going to come earlier and jackals, but these guys sighted the scale from a long way and they came. They are not the only ones. They spread out to the left and further out, so they're very, 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 very many. Yeah, some of them are taking off now. Yeah, they've had their fill, and maybe the taste of wildebeest is not very appealing, and so they're trying to go and find something else. Look at those ones there. They huddled up together. Some of them, after eating they become too heavy, they can't fly, so they sit at a distance, watching for predators not to come, hoping digestion takes place, so that they can be able to fly when danger comes in. Well, on that note, I would like to say something. I met some people driving in the Mara right now, and they gave me a note to one of our biggest fans who comes from Canada, and they said me to say hello to her. She's called, it's written, a big salama to Chui Vivian Eaton, who is a big fan on Mountain Island in Ontario, Canada, of CGTN Wild and Earthwild. Thank you very much. This note comes from Elston Carstad. Yeah, they come from Nairobi. Yes, thank you for watching. It's amazing that I met some people, who said that you are a big fan. Back to the vultures, and they're busy, doing their thing. Heidi, you say Marabusta drink water, or they don't need to? They do drink. Surprisingly, before we came to the scene, they were drinking over here. It's a very funny kind of drinking, but they do drink. I don't know if we'll be able to show you them drinking. What they're doing right now is they're probing with their beaks for mollusks, frogs, tadpoles. But yes, they do drink. Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna drink. It will be interesting if they drank, so that you could see. Okay, well, let's wait and see if they drink. Just keep there. Hopefully they drink, but they do drink.
We've got another little mixed flock of birds here. Some blue waxbills, or as they call them up in East Africa, the blue cordon bleu, which was quite fun, and then some grey-headed sparrows, and we also had a pin-tailed wider female. She was sitting on the tree there. She is now absconded, and another yellow-fronted canary has just landed on the dead tree there, right on the end, Theo. I was hoping that the pin-tailed wider might grace us with her presence for a little bit longer, but unfortunately she has gone. Another big herd of zebra came down to have a little drink, and some of you will remember that a few days ago we found a zebra, Theo and I, that had clearly been savaged by a lion on its back end but escaped. And it was among the zebras that came down to drink, and definitely that wound is healing. It's weeping much less, and although it looked very nasty indeed when we found it, it seems to be just fine. So those of you who've been losing sleep over the fate of that poor zebra can now rest easy. There is the yellow-fronted canary, and in the background, the lovely sound of the hoopoo. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And you're listening also to a blacksmith lapwing. Apparently that sounds like a blacksmith's hammer hitting an anvil. I think the person who decided that was perhaps a little tone deaf. Oh, and one more bird we can show you. Other than the blue waxbill, there's a francolin and a little group of doves that have come down to have a drink at the far end. There are the doves, and just to the left of that there's a francolin, I think, unless it's a piece of elephant dung. Is it elephant dung? No, it is a francolin and its little children. That's very cute. Isn't that sweet? mama crested francolin and the baby crested francolins. Having a Sunday morning drink, the equivalent of the kids going to the bakery for a little breakfast and a coffee. It's going to be a very hot day today, and I almost feel like the animals know that. They're getting their drink in early so that they can go and find some shade.
Yeah, welcome back. I hope it's gonna get hot also here because it's quite cool, and being in an open vehicle doesn't help, although it is necessary for our filming. Theirs is looks like cattle egret, sacred ibis, marabou stock roosting spot. It's quite a distance from where I am. Maybe later on I'll try and get close and see why they chose that spot. But that looks like a very thorny tree, and it's a disadvantage to predators to get their chicks. Probably there is a watering hole underneath, so it's close to food and they can raise the young ones. I'm gonna go there, so sit back and let me get there and see what's happening.
It's incredible. After following those wild dogs for quite a bit, we lost them. We couldn't follow them because they were moving into quite a dense area. But just so that everyone knows a little bit more of the story, what happened is, so the wild dogs made a kill on those impalas that we saw earlier, and then the hyenas came and they stole it. Now this hyena grabbed most of the meat. The belly was really full, and after feasting off that impala, it came down to drink, and now because it's starting to warm up, decided to lie down in the water. You might even notice around this hyena, as soon as it turns its head, around the ears, around the cheek, there's quite a few patches of blood that you might be able to see. But it's fascinating because we were talking about the scavengers and we were talking about the hyenas and the wild dogs and their interaction with one another. And it's incredible because we only, Gerard and I were chatting about it earlier, I reckon there were only 4 wild dogs that we saw. And there must have been a lot more hyenas. So as these wild dogs probably made the kill, started feasting, these hyenas came running in. And don't know if because we couldn't see that reaction. It happened so quickly. By the time we got there, not even 2 minutes afterwards, there was nothing left. So there must have been quite a few hyenas that came in to have a feast and, of course, to steal it away from those wild dogs. And normally in the summertime, you find quite a few of the hyenas that might lie down in some of these smaller water holes to cool down. You don't really see it in the wintertime. It just shows you this hyena must have been probably running quite a bit, trying to take away or trying to grab that meat, and eventually from there on came down to the water. So it is warming up, and because of it warming up and because of probably all that movement, the hyena is feeling pretty warm, and so because of that decided to come and just be in the water. It's not something you see every day, but it is. It's not uncommon to see it though, especially in summertime. But in wintertime, you don't really see it a lot. Now I wonder how long this hyena is going to decide to lie down here. Is it going to be for the next little while? Is it eventually from here I'm going to move up and go find a nice shelter under a tree to go spend the majority of the day until it cools down and move again? Or is it going to be here for the next little while? See how it's just listening carefully what's going on around it. Because also, just to let all our viewers know, so last night Yapi had that big pride of lions that was in this area, and the tracks were heading in a northerly direction, so the lions were in the area. And I wonder if this hyena also didn't pick up on the scent of those lions, because that particular pride has killed quite a few hyenas around the waterhole. So this hyena has to be really careful and be aware of what's going on around it. Shah, with lions, if they do encounter, let's say if they had to encounter this hyena right here, the chances are they would kill it. The reason why they kill it is because they do see the hyenas as competition. But they won't necessarily kill it and feed off of it. It's more of a I'm just trying to see, there's something in the back. Sorry, before I finish my thought, I just want to grab my binoculars. Oh, there's a kudu bull that's just moving closer to the water. So if we give it some time, we might even see him coming out onto the bank. But so anyway, so sometimes the lions would just kill the hyena for the sake of killing it and then just leave it there. The other day, I think this was a month ago, we saw 2 hyenas dead near the water's edge that were both killed by lions. We didn't see the lions actually killing it, but once we got closer to the carcasses, we could see all the lion tracks around, so we had to assume, and we could see 2 big puncture wounds in the neck, most likely from that of possibly a big male lion. I think that kudu might have just spotted the hyena and decided to run off. You can see that hyena is looking in the direction that kudu was a bit earlier that were coming down. I'm actually amazed how warm today is. There's a lot of birds that are already also making their way down to come and drink. Quite a few doves, especially from where this hyena is. Just off to the right, there's quite a few doves coming in.
Welcome back to the Mara, to the beautiful Masai Mara in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Yeah, remember you're watching this live from the Masai Mara. If you want to talk to us, yeah, just go to hashtag CGTN Wild, hashtag Earthwild, and get to talk to us on that. Yeah, that's a beautiful hippo, very muddy. It's rare to come across a hippo out of water, but these conditions are perfect for him. Yeah, it's cool, it's wet, it's muddy, all the things that he needs as a hippo. They don't like heat, and that's why they spend most of their time in the water. Right now, I think he's heading towards one of his favorite spots where he spends his day. This definitely is a male, because he's alone and he doesn't have any females. When they are kicked out, when competition becomes very stiff, males don't tolerate one another. They usually find a quiet spot. Maybe when they have wounds, those are oxpeckers, and I think they're feeding on a wound. Look, there is a wound there just below, right? Yeah, now it's covered, and I think that's why he went into the water quicker, because those oxpeckers were feeding on that wound, making it more septic. Stella, you say you're 5 years old. You asked me what hippos eat. They are grazers. They eat grass. Yes, and a lot of it. They eat around 40 kilograms of grass a night. They spend most of their time in the water in the day because their skin is very delicate, and so they keep it moist by staying in the water, only to go out at dark, and they can go up to 7 kilometers out of water, which is around maybe about 4.5 miles out of water, to go and graze and then come back to the water in the day. So they feed on grass. Many people think that because they cause lots of deaths in Africa, they eat meat. No, it's only that many people don't know that hippos can stay in very shallow waters, and when the rivers are high, they hide in bushes. So We here in Africa, sometimes we go to relieve ourselves in the bushes, we go to fetch water in the river, and sometimes we forget that they can be out. We get caught in between them and water, and that's how they kill people. Yeah, he's quite, he's swimming. Look at that, he's, walking at an angle. Is he gonna turn? Yeah, looks like he's getting deeper and deeper to where he's gonna spend the rest of his day. Yeah, let's watch, see where he's heading.
Anything could happen when hippos go in the water. Occasionally you'll get them having interactions with crocodiles, but ideally they respect each other. Well, earlier I promised you I was going to look for the huge herds of the wildebeest, but on my way there I found this for you. We got two animals here, or we got two males here. One is a herbivore and the other one is a carnivore. One is alive and the other one is dead. So I was talking of 4 different kills. If I include this one, this is the 5th one, in a very small area, again under 1 kilometer. So the pride of lions here and the coalition of these males here have done so much killings, I would say, the whole of last night. This one particular male here, if you see him definitely, you can tell he is big by any standard. And I agree with all of you, he is very good looking. And most of you could be aware of what you call the triangle boys. And this is one of them. Look at that man. See how dark it is. Pretty big, gold color in it, honey color in it. So we call this particular one the half-tail. If you're lucky and you see him flip his tail, you'll see that it is not complete. We've got other 2 that I haven't seen, and one other that I saw the other day. We call him the fang. He misses 1 tooth. Now the youngsters we saw earlier eating the males, this is one of the fathers, because it's difficult for me to know who could be the father. Is either the other 2 males or this particular one, but one of them is the father of the males we saw earlier that were having breakfast, including the one we saw dragging a baby wildebeest to go and stash it somewhere. All of them, these are their fathers. He's just basically enjoying his territory and saying this is party time because we got, or they got, lots of wildebeest to feed on. The tree line you see back there, that is the Masimara, that's the Masimara River, and that's where Isaac is, and he is on the other side of the river, and you can tell from where we are. So I had promised you something earlier, that I'm going to be going to look for the huge, masses of the wildebeest, and that's what I want to do now.
That sounds awesome. For some other little vegetarians, not as big as these large herbivores. A lovely herd here. There's a few youngsters, not too small though. Everybody seems to be over 2 or 3 years old. And they're very, very close to Treehouse Dam. You can see the water in the background. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to watch them have a bit of a play and a drink like we were lucky enough to have yesterday. You can listen to them eating. sure you're hearing a lot of wind as well. It's picked up again. Oh, it looks like they're moving towards the water. There's some that are moving quite quickly. Oh, I love it when they go towards the water. They have such a spring in their step. They look a little bit clumsy when they get excited, which is very cute. Alright, I think we should move up onto the dam wall. And we'll be able to see them really nicely. Elephants drinking at a water hole and having a play makes my day every single day. So I'm happy that I get to share it with you this morning too.
Welcome back to and beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve, everyone. It's been a while since you last saw us. We left those lions heading into a dry riverbed with their cubs, and our tracking vehicle has been busy between them and another vehicle in the area that managed to find that mother cheetah yesterday with her 2 cubs. We got here just too late. If you have a look on the ground just to the right of that cub, you'll see that there's a dead impala there. And so that mother cheetah, remember last night we said that she was looking like her belly was pretty empty, and that she would more than likely try to hunt this morning, and that's exactly what she's done. Look at this cub and how it's playing with the dead impala. Busy practicing its bite hold, although it's biting the ear of the impala. You need to go for the throat, little one. You're not going to strangle impala by holding onto their ears. Look at that little one now, how it's gone to the rear end of the impala. And look how it's turning its head sideways, busy trying to open up the carcass. It doesn't seem like they've started to feed just yet. That little one now trying to open up the carcass. Can you see how it's gone for the rear end? I don't know if any of you have ever watched. I know you've watched with us a couple of times. We've watched cheetah when they start to feed. It's often from the rear end of the carcass that they'll start to feed. The biggest muscles, the rump, the most nutritious part of the carcass, so to speak. And this little one is not even waiting for mom to stand up and help her to open the carcass. Already this age, those teeth are definitely sharp enough to cut meat off. But it looks like she's having a hard time for now actually getting through the hide of the impala. So for now, we can't really see where the mother is, but I would assume that she's lying somewhere between us and the carcass. Look at that very long grass. If she's lying, if she's lying flat, as she more than likely is, we won't be able to see her over that very long and very yellow grass. So I think she's probably lying down there, busy recovering from the exertion of the chase, and from then having to strangle that impala. It must have been quite something to watch her take this impala down in this thicket around us here. And myself and Craig are going to watch with interest as they start to open up the carcass and start to feed.
Look at this. Lovely, peaceful scene here at Treehouse Dam. See how they're standing very still? They'll be communicating with each other. And then you'll suddenly see everyone starts moving again. See how they've all gathered on this western side of Treehouse Dam. That's where there's nice fresh water. There's a spring on that side. You often see them start anywhere on the dam and then move over to this side where they can get some really, really nice water. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Oh? It almost looked as if one of the elephants in front just happened to let out a bit of flatulence. And the elephants behind said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." But that's not what happened, I'm quite sure. While they are very gassy, they definitely don't react badly to the gas of others. The wind has picked up substantially, and when that happens, you'll find that animals, especially herd animals, pull together. It creates this feeling of safety, especially for the young calves. And now they're all moving off. So much to learn and love about elephants. Let's send you over to learn some more.
Elephants have fascinated us for so long because they display the same social complexities and full emotional range of our own human species. Mothers, sisters, cousins, and aunts live in herds while the bulls wander the wilderness as bachelors. Cows live in the same herd from birth until the end of their life, some 60 years later. The herd is led by the oldest and wisest female, the matriarch. She's not only responsible for leading the herd, but also dishing out discipline to the often unruly teenagers. With their flappy ears, floppy trunks, and folded skin, baby elephants have the cuteness edge over their human counterparts. Like toddlers, they are playful, curious, and love rolling about in the dirt. Human voices and vehicles provide endless entertainment for bored little elephants, and they, in turn, are always a source of amusement for us. Exploring is the main source of calf entertainment, but it's a scary and sometimes prickly world out there, and Mum is thankfully never far off. Bulls become boisterous when they hit puberty, and this irritates the matriarch. Once she's had enough, she will boot them out of the herd to find their own way in the world. Like playground bullies, the young males fight for dominance, sometimes with extreme violence. The older bulls live alone but mentor these young bucks. It is these fellows that are the ultimate gentlemen of the wilderness.
Such fantastic creatures, elephants, and I'm sure that these cheetah will be hoping that they don't get interrupted while they're feeding by a herd of elephants. And have a look now, everyone. I apologize, I think if you are sensitive, things might get a little bit gory here, seeing as this little cub has managed to open up the rear end of this impala and is now busy feeding. looks like the little male cub. Slightly bigger than his sister, and also have a look at his right ear. He's got quite a scruffy looking right ear. It's a little identifying feature. Amazing that these little cubs at this young age, we said that maybe they would have to wait for mom to come and open it up for them, but that's not the case. They've managed to open the carcass by themselves. We have had a brief view of mom. She is quite far to the left of the carcass and concealed in some long grass. You can't see her for now, but she's nearby, and she's keeping a watchful eye on her little ones, on the carcass, and on their surroundings as well. Just wanting to make sure that there's no other predators that might be moving into the area that might have been attracted by the commotion of the chase. And in fact, just while we've been sitting here, we've already seen a white-backed vulture flying overhead. It flew over a few minutes ago and looked down at the carcass, circled once or twice, and then flew off. And I think when you come back to us, I'll give you guys a little quiz, a little question, speaking about the different kinds of predators that might come to disrupt these cheetah and chase them off of their carcass. So things like lions, hyenas would be a threat to them. But what about vultures? Would vultures be able to chase these cheetah off of their carcass?
Now we have got a little group of kudu, and they too are very peacefully moving through the woodlands here, enjoying, I suppose, the new buds that might be coming out on some of the trees here, although I think for the kudu it's going to be fairly lean times for the next month or so, after which the new leaves should start to emerge. But there'll be a few buds, and they'll enjoy the knobthorn flowers, and they'll make do because we had a very good rainy season last year, and so there is plenty for them to eat through the dry season. These particular animals are relatively well adapted to living in almost desert conditions. So we find ourselves in what's called a semi-arid area. If you go up to the Kalahari, which is arid, you will still find kudu surviving. A young bull. The most amusing part of a kudu, of course, is that it looks like it's just dipped its face into a bowl of milk. They've got white lipstick. Don't know why they have white lipstick. Not sure if there's some kind of adaptive advantage to it. And just cleaning itself of ticks, that one. And other ectoparasites that there might be, or just having a scratch. And you can see how this time of year their colours are really perfect for the vegetation in which they find themselves, and this is the time of the year where an animal's camouflage is much more necessary than it might be during the summer. And that is because, of course, in summer there's a lot more foliage, and that means that there's a lot more to hide behind. You don't need to be camouflaged. You can be bright pink here in summer. But now, when the foliage is so sparse, you've got to be pretty well camouflaged, and I think these kudu do a great job of being camouflaged in this vegetation. Anna Marie, yes indeed, they have had a pretty easy winter this year. It all goes with how much rain falls in the summer. And if you have a very good rainy season like we had last year, well, then it's going to be a relatively easy winter or dry season. It's not normally the winter that's such a difficult time for them. It doesn't get cold enough for that to be a real problem. It's round about now that things can start to get tough. August, September, October, before the new rains, before the new vegetation, especially the grasses come out, things can get a little bit rough. This year it's going to be fine though.
Yeah, I think
nothing like the conditions that prevailed here 2 years ago, when it was like a small desert in this part of the world.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. You've joined us just in time. The mother has come out of the shade of the bush that she was hiding in, and she's now moved the carcass just a little bit over to the side. Her two cubs following eagerly, wanting to get some food off of the carcass. And like we said earlier, the mother, look at how vigilant she's being. She's scanning all around her, looking for any signs of potential danger, like leopard or lion or hyenas that might be wanting to come and steal the carcass from her. And I asked the question of all of you, a little quiz. We said that lions, leopard and hyenas will be threats to her and the carcass, of course, or might come and try and steal the carcass. But what about vultures? Would vultures be able to take this carcass away from this mother cheetah? See there, she's moved the carcass right towards that other vehicle. Just trying to find a place where it will be sheltered, where she'll be able to keep it out of sight. She'll be wanting to conceal it as best she can. And while of course it'll be difficult to mask its scent, apparently everyone's saying, all remarking on how skinny she looks, saying that she definitely looks like she's in need of a meal. She certainly does. Even last night, remember when we saw her, we were chatting about how thin she looked. So very good that she's been able to catch this impala, and she'll be able to fill herself and her cubs' bellies with this carcass, if she's able to hang on to it. But where she's got it now, I don't know if you can see, there's a big thick cluster of sticks over the top of it, and so it'll be very well concealed. She's able to feed then in that long grass. She won't be spotted, and the carcass won't be spotted. Of course, there's still the issue of the wind. The wind is blowing. There's a decent breeze that's blowing across, and the smell of that blood will be wafting out into the grassland behind us. But she'll be super vigilant. And as she feeds, we'll probably see, now I know we can't see them too well for now, but as she feeds, she'll pop her head up every now and then and just look around. And there's cheetah. Oh, now all three of them, it looks like they're lying down busy, well, kind of squatting down, busy feeding on their haunches with their chests pressed close to the ground. But there's not the greatest view for now, so I think myself and Craig are going to reposition, and when you come back to us, hopefully we'll have a better view of these cheetah.
Well, we're still here with a breeding herd of buffalo, hoping that they'll come marching on towards us, but I don't know what repellent we have on today, but they're keeping their distance and kind of just feeding around the car, and just far enough that we can't have a clear view. But the buffalo bulls, there's a group of them that moved off. They've decided to come back and rejoin the rest of the herd, but they've slowed down. They're feeding at a snail's pace, so the grass must be quite tasty in here. Here goes an oxpecker. Now, buffalo have to constantly keep eating, so these are, well, an animal that we would call a bulk grazer. So most of their diet is made up of grass. However, in the dry season, or winter, as we're experiencing now, it's not uncommon for them to eat leaves. So typically the round leaf teak, and I've often seen them eating African wattle leaves too. So they'll intake quite a bit of that. So they constantly keep eating, and they'll, I don't know exactly how much a buffalo needs to eat, maybe around 50 or 60 kilograms of grass or vegetable matter every single day. They have got a very, very good digestive system though. So they are what we call nutrients, and out of the digestive systems that the animals get, it's one of the best. It's sort of the maximum way to take out nutrients. So I'm not going to bore you with all the nitty-gritty details, but essentially that all this food has to pass through 4 different chambers within the stomach. So even though the grass is not so great, they'll be able to extract every bit of nutrients and all the minerals. But with it being dry, it's actually quite tough for the buffalo. They're one of the first animals to show sort of how horrible the dry seasons can sort of affect these animals. So there's not a lot of phosphorus, there's not a lot of calcium and selenium and vitamin E in the grasses at this time of the year, and this can cause big problems for the buffalo. But only the strongest will make it on through. Luckily there's still a lot of water around, and fingers crossed that we get some early rains this year rather than the late rains that we've been having over the past 2 years that only come in December.
Welcome back to the beautiful Masai Mara, good people. And I've driven further down from where I was. Now I am in what we call the main crossing, and I found one other big huge croc. This guy looks like he's been eating very well. Just look at his tummy. When I say that, look just behind his leg that we see how bloated he is. The skin is very stretched, so it looks like he's been eating very well. In this stretch is one of the main crossings where the wildebeest crosses. Those rapids are where sometimes they come and cross, and this is what the water has claimed. Those are some of the dead wildebeest who have been trying to cross either from the other side to this side, or from this side to the other side. You might feel sorry for them. I feel the same, but it is necessary for the river to claim a good number every year, because no predator or natural causes can do enough harm or to control the numbers. Yeah, there is another one. So there is quite a good number of carcasses littered along this stretch of the river. It is also important that those ones stay there, because the fishes, we have the catfish, the mudfish, the bottom feeders that sometimes feed on the meat. You can tell that it is time of plenty, because there is no hyena, there is no vultures coming to feed on them, so there is a lot of food. Of course, another resident of the Mara River, the hippopotamus, this time of day, spending a lot of their time in the water. Ralph, you asked me how much does a hippo weigh. They weigh around 4,000 pounds, around 2,000 kilos, or 2 tons, I would say, fully grown. Mind you, females are slightly heavier than males, so that is their weight. This time of the year, in this stretch of the river, they don't get to rest very much, because every couple of days, every couple of hours, there is some wildebeest crossing, so they don't get to sleep very well. As you can tell, those they're quite awake. Usually this time of day they'll be fast asleep, their heads laying on one another, acting like pillows. This is one animal that is built to live in the water, because if you look on all the sensitive organs like eyes, nose and ears, they're all above the head, so they don't need to raise their whole head out of water to see, to breathe, or hear. They need just to raise a little bit of the head, and that's it. Yeah, that's another victim. He looks like he's been here for quite a while. Nobody's feeding on him. Is there another one on the other side? Yes, you can tell that it's gangrene kicked in. Yeah, and it doesn't look very good. Sorry for that sight, but all these is part of nature, and excuse me for showing you the pictures, but it's part of this. Remember, I'm still in the Mara River. I'm staying here to see if something happens, but I'm gonna be here for a little bit longer.
Welcome back. We've tried for a slightly better view of this mother cheetah and her youngsters. Unfortunately, she's moved it again, or moved the carcass again rather, and so we're still without a view of the carcass. But there's the mother. See how she's lying down, resting, and busy looking out into the grassland, scanning for any signs of danger. And there's the thicket that we spoke about, that she dragged the carcass under. And somewhere behind that glade of grass is the carcass. There's a little cub. Don't know if you saw it just shaking its head there. Just like Mom, also keeping a lookout in between bouts of feeding. So I asked the question earlier if vultures would be a threat to these cheetah in potentially taking their carcass away, and Rachel and JT, you said that vultures in big enough numbers would be able to dispossess this mother cheetah and her youngsters of their carcass, and Rachel and JT, you guys are correct. If there were to be enough vultures that were to land here and kind of advance on the cheetah aggressively, and but most importantly in enough numbers, this cheetah would probably give way and move away from her meal. But I didn't want to give too much away earlier. I was talking about how this bush that she's taken her carcass under affords the carcass and herself excellent cover. The fact that it's so enclosed means that those vultures that were flying over earlier probably won't be able to see it very well now, and will probably be will be very hesitant to land here and try and feed on a carcass that's so well covered. A vulture being a very big bird, very big wings, being very heavy, it needs quite a bit of a run up to take off, and it needs open space to take off. And so often vultures can be hesitant to come and feed on something in thick bush. And so this mother cheetah has done very well to limit the chances of her losing her kill to vultures, or even just having vultures flying around here and then drawing the attention of other larger scavengers. So she's done well. But interesting now that she's not feeding, just lying there, letting her youngsters feed. Candy, you're asking why this cheetah wouldn't take her carcass up into a tree to feed on it there. Candy, that's something that leopards do very often. Cheetah are not as adept at climbing as leopards are. They're not as powerful as a leopard is. They're built for speed. So they don't have the physical strength to drag a big carcass like that up into a tree, and they don't have the climbing ability to take a carcass vertically up into a tree like a leopard does. So cheetah quite a bit different to a leopard in terms of its behavior and how it will conceal its carcass. So for her, it's a much better option to take it under a thicket. And even a little bit later, if she's had enough or she's fed on it sufficiently, she might even look at all that long grass that's around that carcass. What she will also sometimes do is, if they're fed a bit on the carcass and they are going to hang around and come back to a little bit later, and maybe if there isn't good enough cover to conceal it, they'll sometimes use their front legs to rake the grass or the surrounding vegetation over the carcass and cover it to try and conceal it from from other scavengers.
Back, same place. We have dispensed with camouflage now, and we're enjoying this brightly coloured little bee-eater and looking forward to the return of its even more colourful friends, the carmine bee-eater, if we're very lucky, in January, and then the European bee-eater, which should be here relatively soon. So some of the birds don't bother with this camouflage malarkey. They just go with bright colours. And the bee-eaters are a very cheerful addition to what can be some fairly dull winter colours. There's lots of different shades of green and yellow, and then he's got a bit of blue on him. And you can see that he's nigh on invisible to the naked eye. Luckily, Theodore's eyes are spectacular. There we are. Quite nicely framed with that bit of dead quarry bush behind him. And they're quite fun to photograph, if you like taking photographs, because they will often fly off and come back to the same perch, which means getting them in flight is not as impossible as getting so many other birds in flight. So just keep the camera there. He'll come straight back or very close. Yep, back just down towards the left. So we've got that lovely kind of burnt orange underneath his chin. It's like that crust they put on creme brulee. What do they call that? It's that sort of colour. Ready, Ruby? We've already had the return of the yellow-billed kite. Theo and I had that a little while back. And the next one I would expect to see would be the Wahlberg's eagle. That's the one that tends to come back very soon. I don't think there'll be anything else until sort of September time, when you'll expect the bee-eaters to start returning. And maybe the odd cuckoo. Didn't they saw cuckoos at Pinder yesterday, I think, Klaas's cuckoo, which I would have thought was quite early for them. So maybe a few cuckoo species when the weather warms a bit. He's making a vague attempt at camouflage there, I suppose, by turning his green back to us against the background of the green bush. And not quite the same place. I think he's just underneath there. Somewhere. Oh, well spotted. Gosh, that's very good. So all of these little flights are when he's hawking insects out of the air.
Okay, thank you so much.
So welcome to Ambia Ngala. We just came down to this big waterhole, and there's just so much happening now. We'll start off to the right. You'll notice there's quite a few wildebeest that have just had a nice drink, and now they're slowly moving away from the water. You'll notice there's one that's actually looking back, and in the far distance you can hear this, and that's from one of the wildebeest that are calling. Now, just to show you around, so that wildebeest there is now making that noise, but look off to the right of where that wildebeest is. You'll notice there's a big crocodile on the side of the bank there. So I don't know if the viewers be able to see it, but so see that wildebeest now. If you look off to the right, or see the direction that it's moving in now, just slightly right on the water's edge, you'll notice the crocodile on the bank. Now if we look around at the rest of the water, so where that wildebeest is, there's quite a few impalas now also coming down to drink. And then just off to the right, you'll notice there's some geese moving on the side of the bank, like just off to the right. And those are the Egyptian geese. Just want to take my binoculars and have another look. So how far? Yeah, they are. So they're one of the most widely spread water birds in Africa, and they were the first to be domesticated by the Egyptians, hence the name the Egyptian goose. Now from there on, if we make our way along the bank, like closer towards where we are now, there's actually a couple of hippos in the water as well. This is just such a, I agree with all the viewers, this is just an absolutely peaceful scene. And just to top it off, there's also a hyena that started moving down towards the water. It's just gone and sat down. So I'm going to try and explain where it is. So if we go to where those Egyptian geese are, and that log near the water's edge, so we're going to try and zoom in and see if we can navigate here. Now from there on, if we go right towards the tree line, a little bit more right, that's a little black-backed jackal that's moving there, and just right of that there's some kudu, and there's the hyena moving into the tree line. This is just such an incredible scene. So there's hippos, impalas, kudus, wildebeest, black-backed jackal, hyena, crocodile, so at least 7 or 8 animals in this view that we are looking at now. So I want to try and see if we can get another glimpse of that, or the jackal's actually moving a little bit more into the frame now. So where that wildebeest is, there he is. I do enjoy those little black-backed jackals, especially if they do hear something in the grass, and you'll just see how they point their ears in that direction, and sometimes even leap into the grass to try and catch possibly any mouse or possibly any small rodent. And also with this area, the reason why we came to this water is there were tracks of the pride of lions heading in this direction, and there's also a chance if these lions make a kill that these jackal will go and possibly try and pick up some of the scraps. This one, just so relaxed, is probably having a bit of an itch behind the neck and deciding to give it a scratch. And then I wonder where it will go from here. Maybe even you'll notice there's some trees off to the right with a bit of shade, so maybe even going down there and just deciding to lie down for the day. Now with the jackal, as they're moving, even though they could possibly hunt small rodents, even birds, they are scavengers, so anything that they can possibly get, even if they do move along the water's edge, sometimes there could be lapwings, plovers that could have their eggs like buried in the sand. They can go and just pick those eggs. Just look at the hyena just be in front of this jackal, but you can see that hyena's belly's pretty big, so I wonder if it's had a meal now recently. See the jackal's just going to investigate, see if there's any carcass that's there. No. And to see how that jackal's also slowly moving towards the water's edge, like that hyena, probably eventually going to go and have a drink.
Hello everyone. I've always wanted to show you just how gorgeous this set of stairs in the Mawati is. And there's a number of them. And what they are actually the roots of all these tambutis that have created this gorgeous, what I call, stairway. And it's littered with the most colorful tambuti leaves that I've picked up for you, so we can have a look at the different shades of the tambuti. during this dry season. Look at this, it even curves and comes down here, which I think is just beautiful. It's magical, it looks magical. And the sun is just pouring through, illuminating it. So I had to walk down it, and I preferred to walk down it with you than by myself. And while I was up there, I did see a vervet monkey staring at me, wondering what on earth is going on. And I said to it, relax, it's okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the stairs. Here we have the different shades of the tambour tea in this season. Look at those colors. Isn't that pretty? Let me just get my pal. Who shall we use? Strokey, we shall use you. So here is the nice green that we're used to. Oop, don't go anywhere. That will be as a result of the chlorophyll, which is basically the pigment that the plant uses to photosynthesize. And as the season gets drier and drier and it stops investing in nutrients to the leaves, that chlorophyll starts to degrade. And then that's what we see here. So now we're seeing less of the chlorophyll, it's getting lighter. And then when it degrades almost fully, you get this yellowy color, which is a carotenoid. And then it degrades even further to this kind of reddy yellow, the spots of orange, yellow, and then here to the red. And here to the full, or somewhat in between here, but full red on this one. And this is a result of no chlorophyll. Carotenoids can also create this color, but once it starts to deepen to this purple, dark maroony red, it's more likely the cause of the result of anthocyanins, which is a different type of pigment. All those pigments always exist in this green leaf, apart from the anthocyanins that change, or as the pH of the leaf changes, the anthocyanin can become developed into a even blue color, from red to purple blue. But the carotenoids always exist in this plant, or in this leaf as pigment. It's just hidden by the chlorophyll, which is the dominant pigment that we see. Isn't that pretty? I think that is very, very pretty. Magical little stairway walk I had shared with you, and this gorgeous array of winter colors courtesy of the tambour tea.
Welcome back. Myself and Craig have repositioned ever so slightly, but we've managed to finally get a view of the carcass. And it looks like the little female cub is busy tearing into it there at the back. And her brother here in the foreground, having fed a little bit, but seeming quite restless. When you were last with us, as you left us, you might have seen the two cubs jump up and suddenly give a bit of an alarm call and then run and disappear in opposite directions. We're not really sure what happened, but quite typical of cheetah behavior, seeing as we've been speaking a lot about how vulnerable they are to having their carcass taken away from them. Can be very nervous around a carcass. Stefan, you're asking how old these cubs are. Stefan, these cubs were born at the start of March, if I'm not mistaken. So they're about 5.5 months old. And a nifty way to help us to age cheetah cubs is if we have a look at the cub on the right. Just ask Craig to zoom in onto her back. And I don't know if you've ever seen before, Stefan, but when a cheetah cub is born, it's covered in this shock of white, light-coloured, fluffy, like downy fur almost, along their backs. And as they get older, they lose that fluff slowly, and normally by kind of past about 3 months, that fluff has all been shed along their back, and there's still just a tuft around the nape of their neck that lingers even to when they go independent from their mother. But yeah, the fact that that shock of white fluff has gone from their backs tells us that they're older than 3 months old. And then, yeah, just their size from there. It's another way that you can help to tell how old a cheetah cub is. And interesting now that that little cub on the left has left his sister to feed on the carcass by herself. So different to lions. The other day we were watching the pride of lions busy feeding on that carcass, listening to them growling and snarling at each other and fighting over the carcass. And even when they're already quite full, they wouldn't leave for fear of losing, of missing out and of losing valuable food to one of their littermates or to their mother or to their aunt. But here are these cheetah a lot more civil, taking turns feeding, no fighting going on at the carcass. And look at how that little one is panting now. Look at how his chest, can you see how his chest is heaving up and down quickly? He's obviously already taken in quite a bit of meat. He's obviously eaten quickly, and now he just needs a bit of a timeout. Let's come back to the little female on the right, everybody. She's just sat up. And she's looking around before going back down to feed. So we said that her brother has seemingly had enough to eat for now, and he's moved off to the side to rest for a little bit. And it's going to be interesting to see, because Mom hasn't started to feed properly just yet, so it'll be interesting to see when she gets up and starts to feed too.
Well, how exciting to see cheetahs, and I'll tell you what, cheetahs, especially the big males, have been known also to bring down wildebeest together. If you see a coalition of say 2 or 3 males, they can comfortably bring down wildebeest. Earlier I promised you to be showing you some huge herds of wildebeest, and what I'll do now, I'll just keep quiet for a couple of seconds and listen to that will remain to be like our story for the next few months, and our theme will be like new, because every time they move, but basically that's what they do when they're communicating and on their way excuse me, when they're going to the next destination. My guess is they'll always make plans. And to some of the animals, like the elephants, that becomes quite irritating. Not once will see the wildebeest together with zebras and occasionally buffaloes together. But when elephants are involved and they tend to meet, you'll see elephants will always try and take a different direction. And especially if elephants have the calves. Let's keep enjoying that calls or noise of these builds. And they're like in the hundreds from where we are, and if you look carefully, it's not only the wildebeest, but among them we also got the zebras. What a sighting that is. And if you look carefully, they're crossing the road there, and once you'll get the lead male or the lead female makes the decision it's time for us to move, that's exactly what happens. They'll move, stop, eat, have a drink, and then have a rest. This is just part of what we'll be showing you in this series, but we'll have a lot more. So when I move on, I'll want to go to another area, see where they can get other bigger masses of this wildebeest.
From going from a big herd of wildebeest and possibly zebra to a smaller herd going down to drink. Now, earlier on with this group of zebras here, one of them got a spook and moved away from the water, but you can see they are wading into the water a little bit, and it might be that especially towards the edge, the water might be very murky and muddy, and so because they're moving in a little bit deeper, it might be better quality of water, so that's why they are moving in. You can see the ones in the back. Just trying to have a look. Early on they got a bit of a fright and moved off, but at a stage the others were wading in almost onto all the way until the belly almost like touched the water. But most of them probably just had the drink and moved off. And you can even hear those hippos in the background. There's quite a few now. Close to 5 hippos in the water. Just notice how big the one is in the middle. If you can compare the size of the head in comparison to the two on either side. But incredible scene. The impala, the zebras, quite a few hippos, and of course the noise of some of the water birds near the water's edge.
Here we have got a very interesting array of birds. The first one we're looking at is a Burchell's cuckoo, which has now disappeared behind the grasses there. But what it was doing was investigating a fallen weaver's nest. I think while we wait for it to come out, Theo, just to the left of that, that's come out. There it is. Just dead straight in front there. You can see it now walking across. Now this is a predatory bird that will eat anything it can overpower. And it's just flown to a little pool where there are some blue waxbills and there are also some firefinches. And they're all having a sweet little bath. Every so often you can see the water splashing up. Now let's try and identify the firefinches. It can be a little bit of a challenge. Three types that we get here. Give me 1 second and I'll just get the book out. And there are also some canaries. A very peaceful little conical billed gathering of birds. So I think what we're looking at there is most likely the Jamison's firefinch. They do not have any kind of pink on their bills. They've got purely bluish coloured bills. And now they've been chased off by that cuckoo, which, rest assured, if he could catch them, he'd eat them. The chances of him catching them very small indeed. Oh, and there's a green-winged Pytilia. Can you believe it? Okay. Just zoom straight in there, dead straight in there, and go up a bit. Up, and right. In there. Just stay exactly where you are there, Theo. I saw it there, I promise. Up and to the right. You see what they're flitting about there, Theo?
Morning stations, Cam 1Z. I just want to find out how many boxes.
There's the firefinch there, and the blue waxbills. I promise you I saw a green-winged Pytilia in there. Theo, if we can get the green-winged Pytilia in all its glory. It's a nemesis bird. I think it's going to come down and have a drink. And then those who cast aspersions on my ability to find the green-winged Pytilia will be forced to eat their words. I can't believe we missed it. I just had the briefest glimpse. And there's a weaver as well. The one that landed on the very end of the branch there is a weaver. Soon they will start their building ways again. And then Thea, let's just have one last look down at the pool there where the firefinches have landed again, because we don't often get them sitting still. Just like that. Also, there was a painted snipe in this particular pond, but it seems to have pressed on. Good. A nice little birding section there. I think we'll move on from here. We're kind of patrolling from waterhole to waterhole now, seeing what comes down to drink. I've got no fresh tracks to follow, so we'll just see what comes our way, I think. I can still hear the Partilia calling in there. No, I don't think there are any birds, are there, Thea? Just gone straight away. Okay, let's move on, see if we get lucky. In. Okay.
No changes here with this family of cheetah here at Ambion Pinda, everyone. Still just the young female busy feeding on the carcass. Look at that red on her lips. The blood from where she's been feeding. Oh, and her brother's just sat up. I wonder if he's not maybe going to come and join her. He's just behind that tree for now. But interesting that the mother still hasn't stood up and come to join her two cubs at the carcass. We've been watching her and she's been looking pretty relaxed, like staring, not too intently, just casually gazing around. Obviously feeling quite relaxed where she is, with the excellent cover that she's managed to get for this carcass. Almost as if she's allowing her two little ones to eat before she does. Let them fill their tummies. Although, like we said earlier, she definitely, out of the three of them, looks like she's the most in desperate need of food. Anushka, you're asking how much meat these cubs would eat. And Anushka, I'm not able to give you a straight answer for that. I've heard reports of adult cheetah, presumably adult males, being able to eat about 12 kilograms of meat. And if an adult male cheetah weighs about 60 kilograms, if my maths is correct, that's about a fifth of his own body weight. And so if these cubs weigh maybe about 10 kilograms, maybe a bit more than that, maybe about a kilogram or 2 kilograms of meat that they'll be able to put away into their tummy, if it's the same kind of ratio. Anushka, that's the best answer I can offer to that. But they will certainly eat until their bellies look like they're in danger of exploding. And like we said earlier, they all three of them look like they're in need of a meal. So I'm sure that they'll fill their tummies. And this size Impala is definitely going to enable all three of them to do that. I mean, just the two of those two cubs, the fact that they're still feeding on the rump of this Impala, they've only just scratched the surface of all the meat that's available here. There's still all the meat along the back, the meat around the shoulders, and then the meat kind of on the inside of the diaphragm as well. We're gonna keep waiting here watching these cheetah as they fill their bellies.
So, we're at Ndlovu Dam now, right outside the eco training camp, with a couple of kudu that have come to quench their thirst. It's going to be a scorcher of a day in the low veld here in South Africa, but nothing that we can't handle. But there is an animal that has just arrived that can handle the heat better than most animals, and that's the elephants. Hopefully some more will come on through, but for now it just looks like two young bulls that, well, they're actually giving the kudu a wide berth, which is surprising because we know how cheeky young elephants can be, and especially around water they want everything to themselves. So maybe I've spoken too soon, but let's see if the ellies are going to chase the kudu away or just let them drink in peace for a change. But there they go. They're not so certain about the kudu. Oh no, sorry, the kudu are not so certain about the elephant. You can see the female. She's looking up. Oh, and a big head shake from the elephant, but that's okay. A few obstacles in the way, nothing that the kudu can't handle. Exceptional jumpers. Elephants, not so good on the jumping side. They're going to come around towards us and have a drink and probably have a splash around. I hope I get to see them swimming because it would be nice to watch elephants swim, and maybe those sounds will encourage other elephants. And there is some more bulls, but a couple of 100 meters away. Maybe they'll stop feeding and move on down here too. But I'm shocked to see how quickly the water has disappeared. It's crazy. There's really not much left of it at the moment, but I think it might be just enough just to keep these animals going. It should become easier and easier now for us to guess where to find the animals, as there's only a few drinking spots on Pridelands. Here the two boys are. It's a pity you can't hear them sloping up. But remember, this is a live and interactive safari, and of course we'd love to hear from all of you. So you can get hold of us a variety of different ways, whatever floats your boat really. But hashtag CGN TV Wild on Twitter, of course. You can do all of the wonderful things. Hashtag Wild Earth at FC if you're on YouTube. You will definitely be able to get hold of us. Send those questions on through. There's a nice close-up of this elephant just having a drink. It's always funny how some elephants are more excited by water than others. The pace at which these boys came in made me think that they were going to dive headfirst on in. But no, just very gracefully drinking water. Alan, yes, I concur. Elephants can be such bullies, and that's why I'm surprised, because young bulls, with all that testosterone brewing inside of them, you'd think that they, would have chased everything around the Egyptian geese, the lone impala, one had a head shake at the kudu, but it wasn't quite dramatic. So today, these elephants are quite relaxed, and not as boisterous as they normally are. Maybe that's until some more elephants come through, and I don't think it will be too long before that happens. It is going to get quite exciting though at this dam, and it's going to be great for all the students in camp that are here at the moment during the day to get to learn about elephant behavior, and I think they're going to learn firsthand how bossy elephants can be. I'm also waiting for a hippo to arrive at some point, because that also should happen. I know that last year there was a hippopotamus, and at the beginning of the year, that was in Ndlovu Dam, but they have gone elsewhere to find better water, perhaps in some of the pools in the Motlobetsi River, or maybe there's some bigger dams just north of us. Even the doves are coming down for a drink. Everyone is here today. Hi, Cheryl. Now, there's only one pumped pan at Prideland, so we don't actually fill up the dams at Leopard Dam or Ndlovu Dam, which are the big ones that we normally sit around at. But at near the headquarters, so there's a farmhouse not too far from here, kind of on our boundary. So there is a small pan that they've started pumping around there, and it's I think it's been good, hey? It's, when the lions and leopards are just north of our boundary, they seem to pop on in now and have a drink of water. And lots of elephants are going there too, mainly the bulls. We know the Ellies love to drink the cleanest of clean water, so they're quite happy about that. But it hasn't really stopped the elephants coming to Ndlovu Dam. But I also haven't been here for a little while now, so that's just from what everyone else has said, but I'll form my own opinion in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how much activity is happening that side. But I think for the big cats, they're enjoying that little pumped pan too. Come on, Ellies, I know you want to go inside the water. Look how cool it is.
You're just breaking up a bit too. Yeah.
Perhaps we'll sit here for a little bit longer and hope that the rest of the elephants come on through, but while we play the patience game, off you go to have a look at something else.
Welcome back to the Masai Mara. I'm still along the river. I've been trying to find some wildebeest or zebra that are trying to cross, but in vain. It doesn't mean that it is over. The migration is here. It's only maybe the time and date that is not right, but they will be crossing, I'm sure, maybe this afternoon, maybe later on in the next coming days. Here I have the resident of the Mara River. I don't know if this is a mother and her yearling to the left. I cannot get close. This is a very dangerous animal. Lucky enough, it's closer to water, so chances are most of the time it will go towards the water, but I don't want to risk anything. The little guy looks a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know why, but I would say, my voice maybe is he's not used to hearing people speak. Yeah, this time of the year, for some reason this year, seeing we are finding a lot of hippos out of water, and sometimes I tend to think they're very much like us. Sometimes they want some extra sunlight on their skin, although it's not as good, but they stay outside. Okay, it looks like my voice is not very welcome with them. I don't blame them, it's not one of the best. Bye bye. Matt, you asked if hippos were out of water, will they charge the vehicle? I have two answers for you. If you are in between them and water, chances are 99.9 they will charge the vehicle. If they were in between us and water, like what just happened right now, 99.9% they will get into the water. So it depends on where you are, but the higher side is that you don't want to be on their way. When they're getting to water, they will charge you. I hope I answered your question. This looks like a very big pod, very scattered, so they're getting back into the water. Mind you, today the current is slightly heavier, the current, so they liking it more being out of water. I'm gonna wait for them to see if they're gonna gather up, and then I'm gonna move on, see if I can find something for you guys.
Here is a large group of bachelor waterbuck, which is quite fun. They're all having a very relaxed time of it. And it's an unusual group because there are some fully grown bulls there, and they are supposed to be pretty territorial. And while the youngsters would be tolerated within the territorial bull's area, if they behave in a submissive fashion. It's quite interesting that there seem to be some big adult bulls there as well. I suspect one of them is dominant and will, or maybe there are 2 or 3 territories in this area because we are quite close to water. And because I suppose large water bodies in this area are fairly sparse, there are no big river systems, perhaps they set up small territories around the water holes and dam areas. They're all lying down, having had a good feed this morning. Sorry, what was that? Can we have that again? Oh, right, okay. We're going to do a quiz now. And the quiz is a very seemingly simple question with, I don't think, a very obvious answer. Why is it called a water buck? So if you'd like to send through your answers to that question, you can do so to the hashtag CGTNWild or the hashtag WildEarth. Why is it that waterbuck are called waterbuck?
Finally, the elephants, well, the 2 boys are back in the water now. They couldn't resist to have a muddy bath. Oh, that's so cool. I'm so envious of elephants when they get to do this because it looks like they just have the most fun. Something else that always amazes me is how they never seem to get mud in their eyes, or it doesn't really bother them too much. I'm sure when they spray it on their face, they must close their eyes, and they've got those long, thick eyelashes to stop some of the dirt and dust going in. But sure, when they squirt that muddy water out of their trunks, it does come out with quite a force. But anyways, occasionally you'll see them rub their eyes with their trunks where I think it's obviously gone in a little bit. But it doesn't seem to bother them all that much. And the Egyptian geese just swimming on past. Nora, now there's no bones in an elephant's trunk. It's all sort of cartilage and muscle, which is pretty amazing. So that's why it's so flexible like that. It can move in all sorts of directions and bend quite a bit. But it is, well, there's much debate as to how many muscles is in an elephant's trunk. Some say over 120,000, some say 60,000, some say 80,000. You can decide for yourself as to how many muscles an elephant has in its trunk, but as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot, and they are incredibly strong. But that trunk is such a useful tool, because it's obviously used as an arm, and it can pick things up. It's got those 2 little prehensile tips on the edge of it, and when I say pick things up, it can pick up a little twig if it wanted to, and very gently. Or it can use its tusks and its trunk and lift a huge log up and toss it out of the way to find a nice, maybe if there's some green grass left, just behind it or just underneath it. But it is great. And then of course it helps them drink water, cover yourself with mud, swats flies. Oh, that elephant looks like it's just having the best time, just laying down on there. Now, another thing that often people think is that elephants don't lay down very often. But I don't know if I really agree with that, because you actually see elephants sleeping fairly regularly, especially on these hot days that we're coming into. If there's any young elephants, they can't quite keep up with the herd, and they like to have a bit of a siesta. And an elephant bull is no stranger to having a sleep, during the heat of a summer day either. So they do lay down a lot, and I mean when they roll around and wallow around in mud, which is something we think rhinos and buffalo and warthogs typically do, but the elephants love to do it again at this time of the year. So they can get up quite easily. I always just think it's quite funny that they don't slip and fall, because the cracks underneath under the soles of their feet must get filled with mud. And I know when you go driving, if you go off-road driving and the tread of your tires get filled with mud and you're driving on muddy surfaces, it becomes almost impossible to stay on the road. You just slip and slide and you have no traction. But the elephants seem to manage it quite well. We've got the best 4x4 tires. All terrain. Oh, look at him. He's just absolutely covered in mud. But it's going to get quite dangerous. Maybe not for these bigger elephants, but again, the younger elephants coming on through, getting quite excited, also wanting to wallow, having to venture further into the dam to drink. And a drying up dam can become a death trap for lots of different animals. Especially when the elephants or big animals have been there and they've churned up that mud. If something, like I said, a little elephant or an impala puts its foot in the wrong place, it will get stuck in the mud and it'll be quite difficult to get on out. And often animals die. Also buffaloes. That happens to a lot of buffalo bulls, which is very, very sad. But I think these boys will be alright. No getting stuck for them today. And at the moment it's quite interesting. Obviously with everything that's happening during this COVID pandemic, there aren't very many international students, but we've got a whole bunch of South Africans, which is fantastic. And they're fairly young. So a lot of them are... I've just met this group because I've only just come back to work, but a lot of them seem to be between maybe 19 and early 20s, maybe 25 or so, and then you'll often get a couple that are maybe in their 30s. And then the nice thing about being a safari guide is that there's no age limit, so we have people who, you know, coming through, not necessarily this time round, but often when we get a lot of international students coming on through, people that are in their 40s and 50s, 60s, you name it. And as long as you're fairly fit and I suppose can keep up and jump up and down on vehicles, because you get in and out of the cars quite a lot, or go on a long bushwalk, you know, you're good to go. So yes, but it's quite a young group of South Africans from what I've seen. But just because I haven't been in camp for a while, I've also been keeping my distance a little bit, just to make sure that I haven't brought anything back with me. This is why I've got the leopard print buff, obviously, safari chic, not really. So I will get to know them, but right now I'm just giving them a little bit of space. Elephants. Oh, look who's come down now. There's a big herd of impala. That's great. So now this could be interesting. Not that they're, again, a threat to the elephants, but we could see that boisterous behavior come on through because there's more than just one impala. And it is quite funny because the elephant's behavior has just changed slightly, but I'll let you know if they start moving towards them. This is a bit more excitement in the animal to have, well, they're supposed to come down for a drink. They didn't even check for crocodiles. You're lucky. And I don't think that there are any in here, or at least any big ones to see. But this is a very vulnerable moment for any animals that come down to drink at the water. Not quite as dangerous as the notorious Mara River, but there could be leopards or lions lined up here. Look at the elephant now. Here we go. They're so funny. This is the one that's obviously had the mud bath, and he's just gone, nah, get out of here. This is my water. Thank you. I want the entire dam to myself. So cheeky. So we were talking about the boisterous behavior. I thought it was too good to be true that we'd have two well-behaved adolescents, and now they're showing their true colors. I'm just pretending to drink water now. We can see right through your act. You know you're going to just try and get a little bit closer to those impala. I think the impala and warthogs and other animals that come and drink in between the elephants are so used to being chased by them that they're not too perturbed. That's why you got to quickly get your drink in before one does come bowling towards you. It's also nice to see that the impala is still looking quite healthy. They're very hardy animals though. Little blacksmith lapwing in the foreground, just preening itself. And Sebastian was telling me that there was crowned lapwing eggs that we were watching, but it sounds like the baboons have got them, which is not an uncommon thing to happen. But we'll keep an eye out for the blacksmith lapwings that live around in Ndlovu Dam to see if they haven't got a nest anyway. But what a lovely moment here at Ndlovu Dam. I think we'll just sit and wait and see what else comes down for a drink.
Wonderful to see animals drinking together once in a while they have no issues and there's enough water for everybody. Now, I do not have two animals that are similar, but I got two animals also because I got guinea hens there and I had the wildebeest in the background. Now, these guinea hens that you see there are called the crested guinea hens, and they're just disappearing in the grass. Of course, the wildebeest look a lot bigger than them, but if you look carefully in the grass, you can see some birds that are walking there, getting some seeds to feed on. And not only seeds, should they get any insect along the way, they'll also pick it up and feed on it. Now, these guinea hens, where I come from in my village, we also keep them as pets. And I remember when I was a small boy, we would go to where we could pick any eggs from these guinea hens and bring them back home. And if we could get our chickens, our hens incubating other their own eggs, we'd put the eggs of the guinea hens in the midst of the chicken's hen, and apparently they would hatch out more or less at the same time. And what we found interesting is the chickens or the hens could not tell which chicks were theirs and which ones were not, and they could raise them together. And once these chicks of the guinea hens would hatch out with the other normal chickens, the domestic chickens, they would grow together, and apparently they never left our villages, and we kept them and they grew together. And once in a while we would enjoy eating their meat. Of course, we do not do that anymore for conservation reasons, and we would want every animal, every species to be where it belongs. The Masai Mara is wealthy of birds. Hillsong, zebras and wildebeest always travel together for one reason: safety in numbers. You would imagine you got about 100 zebras and 100 wildebeest. Those are 200 animals, and 200 animals translates to 400 eyes. So you got better chances with more eyes to spot your would-be enemies. I'm talking of predators like lions, like wild dogs that you saw earlier, cheetahs, or even leopards. So the whole idea is stay together because you're much safer and you got better chances of survival. Look at the beauty of the Masai Mara. That's what we call the savannah. The Masai Mara have so many habitats, but one of the dominant habitats of the Masai Mara is the savannah. And that's where you're seeing the wildebeest weaving through, and the direction they're going is towards the Mara River in the tree line in the background of your screen. Well, I'll be looking for more birds, and maybe I'll be lucky to show you more birds later.
Just a totally different landscape, this one, from the one you've been looking at there in the Mara. This one still waiting for the rains. The long rains of Kenya are finished. Now, waterbuck are still having a relax there in the sun. It's not that hot yet, and there's a very cooling breeze coming out of the southeast. So, why is it that waterbuck are called waterbuck and not just buck or grass buck or something like that? Did we have any answers? Kathy says they stay by the water. Yeah, they do to a certain extent, but so do a lot of other antelopes. They often will hang around water. Kalina, you say they run into the water to escape predators. Yes, they do that, but so do impala, so do nyala, so do lots of other antelope. Any other clever guesses? Yes, and finally we have the correct answer from Tiamat there, who says that they are excellent water skiers. That is correct, Tiamat. That is exactly why they're called waterbuck. They are very good at not just water skiing, but in fact they've been seen effectively swimming, surfing, and engaging in jet ski acrobatics. Now, the real reason is actually probably more to do with English than it is behavior and ecology. They do spend time near water, but they're not always near water, and in actual fact I'm not convinced that they are that much more associated with water than a lot of other antelope. So I think it's probably a function of the fact that they tend to be near water, but so do lots of other antelope, but they just they happen to be given that name way back when, and it's stuck, and so now they're called waterbuck. The only real difference between the territoriality of these bulls and a lot of other bulls of other antelope species is that these bulls do tend, especially at certain times of year, to maintain territories rather closer to water than some other antelope do. But you will often find these guys a long way from water, especially in the wet season, when they tend to like to feed in the ecotone regions. And so if you've got a seep line that's flowing, which is a place where water has bubbled up from beneath the surface of the soil, there you will find a unique suite of vegetation, and there you will find waterbuck. So yes, they are associated with water, but often not much more than anything else. And I think they've just got their name through that kind of behavior and also through English convention.
Welcome back, everyone. Have a look at that mother cheetah, how she's now sitting up and sitting quite close to the carcass. She's just joined her two youngsters feeding on the rear end of this impala, and it's amazing how, remember earlier I was saying how long it was taking that one youngster to finish off just kind of the rump of the impala by itself. As soon as the mother has started to feed, it was amazing how much quicker she fed, and how much more meat she was able to take in a shorter space of time. Already that one hind quarter, the meat has all been taken off of the bone. The femur is completely clean of meat. And interesting to see that as soon as the mother stood up, the other cub that was lying down also stood up to come and feed, as if it was worried about missing out on the meal. Have a look carefully, everybody, at where that cub on the right is now licking. Might be able to see that there's kind of like a grey shiny balloon that's coming through there. So they've eaten all the way through the rump, and they've now reached kind of the body cavity, the cavity in the body, the diaphragm where the organs are, and they're probably going to want to eat around those. Still very busy though with that femur, getting the last little scraps of meat off of the bone, even around the joint there. Ben, you're asking an interesting question. You're asking if cheetah and leopards have similar spot patterns. Ben, they do in some places. So around their heads and their necks, they'll have similar looking spots where it kind of looks like someone's taken their thumb, dipped it in black paint, and then kind of dotted it onto their bodies. But the major difference in the spots, Ben, comes from the sides of the body. So have a look at the mom on the left there. Ben, can you see how, again, it's the same. It's like someone's taken their thumb and dipped it in paint and then dotted it all over her side. With a leopard, they won't have those round spots. They'll have what we call rosettes. So it's almost like a blotch that's got a black outline and then kind of like an orangey or a browny kind of coloured inside of the rosette. And that looks a little bit different. And I think, Ben, to answer your question fully, let's quickly go across to a little video to learn a bit more about the difference between cheetah and leopards.
The ultimate triple threat versus an iconic specialist. One built for stealth, power, and ambush. The other designed for speed. The cheetah decorated with black spots. The leopard with copper rosettes. the leopard, a stalking cat of the woodlands. The cheetah, a coursing cat of the plains. Cheetahs are built exclusively for speed and lack the strength to stash their kills or fight off scavengers. While leopards are strong and agile enough to hoist their kills away from thieving lions and hyenas, and while leopards live alone, cheetah often find comfort in the company and protection of siblings. Each cat is the master of their domain and holds a spot atop the African food chain.
Well, how amazing was that? Two beautiful cats, so similar in appearance but then so different as well in their physiology and in their behavior. And again, the mother cheetah, look at how she's laying down once more. Amazing how she's kind of holding off on this carcass, and her two cubs feeding frantically while she kind of just watches. But I'm sure that once they have their full and they go and lie down under the shade with their full tummies, that she'll then get stuck in a bit more, because at this stage she has eaten very little of this carcass. Look at that little cub on the left there, how it's really using those, look at how it's turning its head sideways, using those cheek teeth, that carnassial shear, to help it to cut through the hide. And now progressing up the carcass, starting to feed through the diaphragm and towards the shoulder. Amazing to watch these cheetahs as they work their way through this carcass.
So, we have a very confused elephant over here, because I think he thinks that he's actually a horse. So you know how we were talking about that useful tool that is the trunk on an elephant and how they can do lots of things? And one of the things that they can do, and often will do after they have a muddy wallow, is scoop some sand up into their trunk and throw it over their body. He was not doing that. He loosened the soil, he kicked it with his feet, and then he laid down and rolled around in it. And that's very typical to see of a horse, but not of an elephant. So that was quite funny. Of course, he put the sand on the dust that you can see on his forehead and around his eyes and tops of his ears, but if it's on the side of him, it was quite entertaining. I wonder if he's now going to do the other side, because I'd like you all to see this. It also looked like he had itchy feet at one point. He had his feet up on the logs, and I was talking about the cracks that they have in sort of their heels. He was like scratching them, so must have had a bit of an itch or something that was stuck in there that he didn't quite enjoy. Please, can you do it again for us, elephant, because it was just so entertaining. He's quite light on his feet. He's up and down, and it doesn't seem to be too difficult for him to get, up and down. Yes, turn around, do it. No, why won't you show everybody now? Your camera's sharp. Well, I took a video of him doing it, so if he, oh no, here we go. Little bum scratch. And are you going to flop down to the side? No. I think he is a little bit on the camera shy side of things. You see, he just has all this dirt sticking to the side of him. Use your trunk, buddy, or you're a bit tired. Maybe he's been flexing all day, as a South African might say. Sorry, I don't know. I've now got a sugar rush of some sort too. I've been eating dried mango. And then there's his friend who's just not having any of it, not splashing in the water. He's just got his trunk and the bottoms of his feet wet. You're no fun. He is giving the other elephant a little bit of room, but this fella up in front is slightly larger. and I reckon would definitely show his dominance over the younger fella, or perhaps he'll come and... this guy would be quite cool, Seb. So there's this fallen... so there's a fallen marula tree, which the elephants absolutely love to scratch on. I didn't think about that. Now, we're parked we're actually quite close to it. Oh, look at this. I'm going to have to lay down. Apologies. You can see how they've smoothed it out, but have a listen to the sounds. You cannot climb that tree. No, you cannot do that. For those of you that thought elephants can't climb, you were obviously mistaken. Don't break the tree because you're going to ruin it for everybody. All the elephants love to come around here. Look how flexible they are. Look at this. Perhaps they've also jumped on the yoga trend that the rest of the world has done. He's just so itchy and excitable. There we go. That's my favorite. Getting a little bottom scratch. This is so good. Now he's just going to rest his bottom and his tail. Oh no, back to it again. Rub-a-dub-dub. No. We'll have to come up with some kind of a tune for when elephants do this type of thing. But you can imagine it's difficult for them to scratch themselves. Their trunk doesn't quite stretch around all the way to their rear end. So they do have to utilize trees and things like this to get rid of any parasites that might have lodged themselves in those wrinkly sections of their skin. Now to do the front side. Vecchia, this elephant is definitely an entertainer of an elephant. Apologies, you can see the vehicle's right there, but I'm not going to start the car now because it will disturb him. Are you going to come and say hello? No, just wants to get on the other side. But he doesn't mind that we're sitting right here. It's quite pleasant. Sorry, that's my hat. Hello, boy. I didn't know that you were going to come and scratch here. But not that, again, he hasn't even looked at us. He's not really too bothered at all. And now he just goes quiet as well. I think he's tired. I think he's getting ready to have a siesta. And the bulls often hang around the eco training camp, which is literally about 100 meters from where we're sitting right now. And there are lots of nice tall trees, so he might, after he's done with this, might go and find a nice spot. Is that just fantastic? Are you just having the best time? I'm so happy that he's not worried that we're fairly close to him. This is also really nice. To have these peaceful interactions with elephants. I know it's always fun when you have animals that come up and sass the cars and that type of thing, but honestly, I prefer when they do this and just carry on doing their normal thing and not perturbed by us at all. It just shows that we've done a great job at habituating the animals where they feel comfortable enough to go about their day and we do not disturb them in that manner. Very quiet now. He might even have a dust bath, which means we'll probably get covered in dust because there's a fair amount of sand on the floor and he was sort of just draping his trunk in it. No, he's got his attention turned now to that younger bull. Did you see how he raised his head and gave him a bit of a side glare? He's saying, get away, this is my branch, you're not coming to rub on this. Off you go. You see, he's not tolerating that younger bull at all. You are such a bully, shame. He's sulking and walking away now. Oh, I'll just go find some other friends elsewhere. Yeah, he is. He's going straight towards the camp now. You might even see some tents. Vernon, I like that. Humpty Dumpty stuck on a tree, yeah. I can't believe how easily that elephant lifted his leg. I'm just trying to think of how high that is. Probably about 1.2, maybe even more. No, maybe about 1.4 meters high. And he did that with absolute ease. I reckon if he had to, and there was nowhere else, and he couldn't go around, he would climb over that. He's now got another log between his legs, which you can't see, but he's having a scratch between the folds of skins on the inside of his thighs. And that's probably where you'll find a lot of ticks are congregating. So it is important, and also towards his nether regions too, where the skin starts to get a little bit thinner, those ticks find their way in, and it must be so frustrating to not be able to pull them off. So unfortunately you have to do these strange maneuvers and find an obliging branch or trunk of a tree. The marula trees seem to do a good job at that. Shame, but this is for big elephants only. The little elephants wouldn't really be benefiting from this. I feel like this is if you're about 2 meters and up. Off he goes. Just going down the animal path. Well, that was nice. That was a good elephant interaction. And for so long as well, just kept getting better and better. So that's it. Never be too hasty in a sighting with any animal, because the longer you sit, the more you see, and they just seem to put on a bit of a show.
The longer you sit, and the more you get to see. True indeed. This mother cheetah now has started to feed too with her little cubs. And there's that big grey mass. Have a look at that big pile of organs there in the middle. The one cub still feeding on the diaphragm of the impala. And the mother on the left, she's moved on to the shoulder of the impala. Remember earlier we were talking about the different parts of the body that they would feed on? So they're targeting the biggest muscles on the carcass. Ooh. See how she sat up there? I don't know if you can hear, but there's been a strong gust of wind that's just blown through. Just looking around. Mythical, you're asking a very interesting question. You're asking from how far other animals would be able to smell this carcass. Mythical, that will depend on a number of things. So it will depend on how old the carcass is. A fresh carcass like this will obviously smell a little bit less than a carcass that's been sitting in the sun for a while and might be starting to rot. It will also depend on how strong the wind is blowing, obviously. It will depend on the topography of the land. So if the smell is being funneled down a valley, the wind is blowing down the valley, then perhaps the smell might travel a little bit further. And then even the species, of course, that is doing the smelling. It will depend on how good their sense of smell is. So mythical, that depends on a number of different things, like I said, but predators that are specialized to sniff out carcasses, things like hyenas, would be able to smell this potentially from kilometers away under the right conditions. But luckily for these cheetah, the area where they are has a pretty low density of hyenas, and also hyenas in this area of South Africa tend to be quite strictly nocturnal, well, at least here at Ambion Pinder Private Game Reserve. And so she's not likely to be, would be very surprised if a hyena did come and disrupt her. And perhaps she knows that. Perhaps that's why she's been kind of so laid back when it comes to how long she's taken to actually start to feed. We did, of course, see those lions a little bit earlier. And although they are quite a distance away, I mean, I suppose we also did hear them calling a little bit earlier, and perhaps this cheetah took a little bit of comfort in being able to hear those lions, being able to hear that they're far away, and not likely to disrupt her meal. There is, of course, out in the bush here, we never know though, so there's always the chance of something happening, which is why she sat up so quickly like that when that strong gust of wind came. Of course, with the wind, it'll bring smells. We were just discussing now the scent of different things. See again, the wind just picked up, and again she sits bolt upright. She sniffs, she looks behind her. Of course, she'll be able to smell things coming towards the carcass from upwind of her, but downwind she'll need to rely on her hearing and her eyesight to detect potential danger. That's why she's looking over her shoulder. And just making sure that there's nothing malicious approaching. Very, very vigilant. And while she keeps a lookout, look at how those cubs are tearing into that carcass still. And I think myself and Craig are going to leave these cheetah, everyone. We've had a fantastic sighting of them. and I don't think they're going to go too far from here. So this afternoon we'll come back and we'll catch up with them and see how they're doing. But for now we're gonna leave them and move out.
Well, bon appetit, cheetahs, and I decided to stop here just to show you. Look at those white birds that are flying there in the background. I stopped here just to show you the scenery of the Masai Mara, and look at those egrets. You remember earlier when I was showing you the guinea hens, I told you I'll be looking for more birds for you, and it's just sheer luck or coincidence that we found these birds flying in the air. Not that we planned for them, because we only stopped to show you the scenery, quite picturesque, and show you the wildebeest in the hundreds, but we found these egrets flying in the air. Again, I remember I had a question of why the wildebeest and the zebras should be together, and you can see also those birds are flying together. They create thermals, and of course when they fly together like that, we got other bigger birds that we call raptors, which will always tend to sneak on smaller birds like this. But when they fly together like that, they appear like a huge bird, and chances are the raptors will not go for them. Isn't that beautiful? Excellent. Oh, those are what we call cattle egrets. And not sure they are enjoying the scenery or watching the wildebeest under them, just like I am here. But I'm trying to imagine all is good. Thermals are picking up. It's warming up a little bit than it was in the morning. When we started today, it was rather chilly. So they keep flying like that, and then okay, at one point they'll go and perch somewhere. Now look at the savannah and all the wildebeest that we got there, all spread out. A marabou stock in the foreground of your screen, a vulture, all the scavengers I was talking about earlier. And they are also enjoying, like the lions, having a party season, because look on that drainage line there. We got two wildebeest. I do not know who brought them down, but I'm sure could be lions. The times, as I was saying before, lions will just kill for the sake of lions, for the sake of killing. We call them sometimes wanton lions. And this is a wildebeest. It's dead and nobody touched it. And I think sometimes the cats and most of the lions will want to show their muscles. And this marabou stocks and the vultures are having some very late breakfast. We'll move on and see whether we get more masses of the wildebeests.
This is fascinating. Someone else has just had their breakfast too. This chameleon has. It's the same one that we found near the big dead leadwood that was named Fernando. I believe you have been keeping up with him. Lauren has been visiting him. Actually, I don't even know if it is a him. Anyway, we actually saw it catch something, which was awesome. And it looks very active, so that's really, really interesting. And I hope that we could just watch lots of movement. It moved all the way from the bottom of the tree quite fast. I mean, fast for a chameleon. Just still pretty slow. Now they are diurnal, so they're active during the day. So hopefully that means that it will catch something else. Look at that. You can see how they have this specially adapted feet where 2 toes are fused and 3 on the other side so that they can grip on very well. You get that kind of... I'm doing something with my hand, but you know exactly what I'm doing because whenever you try to act like you're a chameleon, you've done that with your hand too. Fused your fingers and your thumb left out. Come on, get something else. Aren't you hungry? awesome. And I actually had my camera out on it, and I saw it happening through the lens of my camera, and I couldn't actually take a picture quick enough to catch it. Look at that face. Anti-ultimate. You'd like to know where do chameleons go to sleep at night? Oh, look at this. They sleep in the trees. In fact, this chameleon sleeps in this very tree. This evening we'll be able to see it again. So much movement, guys. This is amazing. In fact, we usually see them at night because they're easier to spot. And they're not doing much at all because they're sleeping. But this is a lot of movement. Very, very active. It's just great. Come on. Get us another live kill. Okay, I think this is a male. There's quite an obvious, sorry, I just hit my cap, quite an obvious little bulge, just where the tail and the body meet there. It's called the hemipenile bulge. It gave us a really nice look when it was turned towards us. I hope that maybe you guys got a screenshot. Brian, you'd like to know just how much can a chameleon eat in one go? They'll usually just take one insect at a time. Generally that is a grasshopper. But it will eat continuously through the day. Oh, this is a tough one for you to BK. This wind is rustling the leaves. And Fernando's moving further into the bushy bits of this magic quarry. So they can actually eat tens to 100, give or take, insects in a day, which is an enormous amount. But when you think about the fact that insects are quite small, makes sense, and everybody needs their nutrition. I'm going to stick around here a little bit longer. Maybe we'll get lucky with another swipe of that tongue. I certainly hope so.
Now I'm having a good laugh because this warthog that we can see is one of my favorite warthogs. I call her Linda. Listen, Linda, she's missing most of her is it her right ear? Yeah, I think it's most of her right ear and a part of her left ear, but she hasn't, anyways, I haven't seen her for a long time. But the pigs were down at the water, they got chased away by the elephants, and now there's these remains of this very, very old reservoir, and they've decided that they can't scratch on the big maruda trees like that elephant bull did, but this will do just fine. So they're having a good rub. Look at that. Doesn't that just want to make you dance when they rub like that and wiggle their bottoms? You could definitely add a great little song with a good tune there. That would do wonders. Oh, that's a bit of a loose log there, not great for scratching. But anyways, so it's the sow and the two big boars, one much younger than the other, hanging around her. So she's got all the attention at the moment. Yeah. Get that mud on your face. And she's been quite rough as well. I don't know if any of you have ever touched a warthog or a wild boar, but they've got incredibly thick skin. And you can, oh my goodness, they bash into things, they bash into one another all the time. And it doesn't seem to bother them. I mean, that's concrete. They're just going to pop out on the other side of the tree, and then we'll go back to watching some of the other animals. Cheers, warthogs. They might head towards the zebra clearings where they normally feed for most of their day. I still would like to do a warthog burrow and sit in anticipation. They actually don't live too far away from here, just around the corner, and watch them come out in the mornings. But that's quite tricky to kind of do. But I suppose we've got lots and lots of mornings to try and catch something like that. And as you've seen, they're quite relaxed too. Mr. Jonas, I think I might be a bit itchy too. I don't know why I've attracted all the animals that want to have a scratch. This is the thing that I miss the most, is not actually being able to touch any of the animals, because I'd quite happily get my hands dirty and give those piggies a good old rub, but nope, not allowed to. And the elephant. I'd love to scratch the belly of an elephant, but not today. Probably not ever, in fact. Here we go, we've got another elephant with its head right into the mud, so now you can see. Oh, careful, don't stumble. The impala have now frightened Africa's largest land mammal, or the largest land mammal, should I just say. And they're hurtling across Ndlovu Dam. Yes, run. Impala are terrifying. You can see the impala. One elephant is watching the impala ewe now going, did you see the big fuss that you caused? There she is. She's just standing there. So she leapt over another rubbing post. There's a friend up top. That one over there. And the elephants had their back towards the impala. And I don't think they knew what was happening. These are all the boys. This is not a breeding herd. This is just a bachelor group of very similar aged elephants to the two we had earlier. But they look like they're up to no good. They chased Linda and the two boars away from the water earlier. And I don't think anything else that comes down here will stand a chance at drinking, if they have anything to do with it. Except that old fella over there. I think he just, he doesn't care. He just wants to enjoy some peace and quiet and have a sophisticated mud bath. He doesn't look like the type of elephant that's going to stick his head into the mud. He's also got a broken tusk. His left tusk has snapped off. Oh, just giving an evil eye to an impala that are trying to sneak in for a drink. I suspect that if there's just those two ewes, there must be another herd on their way around. But it's great to have the elephants back again, because they stopped coming for a while. Well, they were coming during the middle of the day when the mornings were quite frosty. But now that they have warmed up a fair amount, we should start to get a lot of action earlier on in the day. And these two bulls were having a little bit of a tussle.
Elephants having a tussle, giraffes having a necking here. I would call this more of a play necking, and necking is when giraffes, the males, go for one another and they sometimes fight over dominance. So this is how they start. To me, this is more of a play, and we call it necking because they use their necks, and sometimes they swing their necks so hard and using their ossicons. Ossicons are what sometimes you call the horns of giraffe, to hit the opponent. And there are times you can even hear them bang, boom from quite a distance, which sometimes it ends up being a fatal fight. We got 3 species or subspecies of giraffes. I would say here in Kenya, this particular one here is called the Maasai giraffe. In general, you'll see them going in herds, sometimes of anything from 5, sometimes to 50 together, depending on the season, breeding time, or depending where they're going to feed. Look at that. So ideally the necking is done by males, not the females. I haven't seen personally females fighting or doing necking. It's always done by the bulls. Look at that. So they may hit each other on the head, and once in a while, this is something exactly for us to celebrate and say, wow. And once in a while, we have seen giraffes out in the bush missing an eye or having a broken ossicon. It's always as a result of these fights. the differences between the different species of giraffes that we got in Africa is in general on the body patterns. You'll find that every species have little patterns that are defined differently from the other. The tallest animals we got in the whole world, I'm sure we all know, and males in general being slightly taller than the females. I've always seen so many species of animals fighting when they go for actual fights, and occasionally you might see the leaders, for example, the elephants, the matriarchs, coming to stop the fight. But for giraffes, out of my experience, when the fights start like this, nobody comes in like to help them or separate them. They keep fighting until they end up getting a winner. Again, in general, such fights will happen because of dominance, and then you'll see, or the winner becomes like the dominant within the females or in the herd. One of them is just staring at us, and you can see how they keep flicking their ears. And this is something of fun to enjoy, I'm sure, and I'm happy that all of you are happy enjoying to watch this. And me too. When it comes to the actual fight, what I've seen, you'll always get the two bulls being on their own, and the rest of the herd is always not there. So that's why I'm a little convinced this is more of a play fight than an actual fight. Because you'd see how they swing their necks, and like I do not imagine you'd want to be anywhere close to that. Females, in general, when they give birth while standing, and you can imagine that height of about 6 feet before they drop the babies. It's enough bang to make the babies, cry, if hopefully they do. I haven't witnessed a giraffe birth, but they normally give birth while standing like that. So 6-7 feet boom drop is quite something. Wonderful to see giraffes. Hopefully the play fight will make them better, and one day we'll get a dominant one as I move on.
Let's hope that they don't ever actually have to fight, poor things. Let's hope that their lives are lives of peace and harmony and poetry, songs and watercolor paintings. Like the lives of these impalas when they're not having breakfast on top of a termite mound. They're eating some Gymnosporia buxifolia. Drawing a little bit of greenery, and you can see the sky is completely washed out there. It's got very bright indeed. Oh, they're also eating a bit of Rusquenzii, I think. Ugh. Looks very spiky. Doesn't seem to be affecting that impala whatsoever. Seems very happy with his choice of breakfast. And I suspect that once the breakfast is done, there'll be some shade, there'll be some chewing of the cud, and a little bit later, there will be some water. Still the faithful dove's call. And you can just hear the zitting of the oxpeckers. You may have even heard a bar-throated apellis there. Theodore has spotted another impala. Theodore, our cup runneth over. And the gentle rustling of the grass in the wind.
It does look gentle when the animals are bigger, but for this little quarry bush and our little flap-necked chameleon, the gentle breeze looks rather violent. As you can tell, if you're not getting seasick, I'm quite sure Fernando the chameleon is. No, but he'd be very, very used to bushes swaying like this. That can be difficult for us to watch sometimes. Is that eye peeking through? Yes, we found you again. Now, this chameleon's usually been hanging out at the base of the tree for a lot of the time that we've been seeing him, and it's been quite a few sightings now. But the first time I ever found him, he was at the top, like he is now. So it's good to see that he moves around quite a bit. Obviously looking for another little delight. A tasty one for the morning. You can see how well he really blends in, especially when there's movement on the tree. So when we look for a chameleon at night, you look for the solid color that you don't ordinarily see on a tree. You don't see solid forms because there's lots of light and shadow, small leaves, big leaves, branches, twigs, and all of that. It's very difficult to, or it's very easy to see when there is a large, maybe even not that large, but even just a chameleon, a solid piece. And that's how we spot them. And you can see here, it's very easy for it to be camouflaged because of the movement of the leaves.
So, you won't believe it, in the final few minutes of the show, a breeding herd of elephants has appeared from behind the eco-training camp, not the camp, and there's a tiniest little elephant who's just been amongst all the giants trying to have a drink of water. I don't think it's successfully managed to drink very much. It has been splashed by every other elephant in the area. Now, if you're wondering which breeding herd this is, because I definitely follow at least 3 breeding herds that pass through Pridelands. This is the herd with the elephant that has a big tear in her ear that I sometimes joke and call Elisha Keys. Laugh, don't laugh. It's fine, I won't be offended. But they all are piling into the wallowing area that seems to be a firm favorite of all the different animals. And I would just love to be in the middle of that. I'd like to be an elephant, however, because I think that they'd probably trample me if I were trying to get in there as a person. Look at them. They're surrounded. Little ones getting stuck. There's probably going to be a bit of trumpeting just now because I'm sure someone is going to slip and fall. But you can see them. They're all very excited, fighting for the prime mud position. I almost don't know where to look. I can see Sebastian's doing a 180, looking around, going, where do I go? What do we look at next? Yeah, that little one's trying to get out quickly before you slip back in and somebody sits on top of you. I'm sure that's happened a few times. But they are so happy now that they have been covered in mud. Andrea, but you are here with me. I know you're only watching from wherever you may be in the world, but at least this is happening right now. So I suppose it's like being on a safari. There's the elephant cow that I was telling you about that's got the big slit in her ear. It looks like a bit of a keyhole. And I thought she'd shrunk at one point because it was one of the adolescent bulls really towered over the top of her. You forget how big the bulls can get in comparison to the cows. You'll see as they just pass through. Oh, this is so awesome though. This is so nice. Not lingering, having a quick drink, a quick wallow, and they're moving away. And perhaps they'll be back a little bit later, who knows? We'll definitely keep an eye out at Ndlovu Dam for most of the day to see which other breeding herds come on through so we can follow up on them. But it's been a lovely morning, and I'm sure that you've all enjoyed watching and seeing all the different animals across Africa. But from all of us here, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again on the Sunset Safari.